Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another pair of rounds in the UK Sim Racing Community's Porsche Cup Season 8, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing. And tonight, we mark rounds 6 and 7 as we make our way into the transition point for the halfway mark of the season. And where better to celebrate the transition into the second half of the season than in Spain at the MotorLand Aragón circuit, known also as the Circuito de Alcañiz in reference to the local town. This is a circuit that previously designed by Herman Tilke is one that is all about technical prowess and going with the flow. With 18 corners with wide variety intermixed amongst them, whether it be hairpins, sweepers or even a medium speed extended chicane, it is a circuit which also brings into the matter of fact plenty of elevation changes, some very sharp, some very gradual, and when it's all put together plus also an extended back straight of almost a kilometre, it does mean it is a circuit where handling and cornering prowess and that technicality which you mentioned only moments ago becomes key if you want to come out on top, and all underneath all of that, underpinning it all, is consistency. And this is argued one of the hardest circuits in the world to get right lap after lap. And could that mean that today some of our faster drivers out there find themselves going fast but falling off the circuit, and could some of our slower but more consistent drivers potentially pick up some huge scores and points? We'll have to wait and see, because plenty of that and more is due to come tonight as we get ready to go racing here at UK Sim Racing. And we welcome you all to this live broadcast from circuit side, only available on the official UK Sim Racing Twitch channel. That's at twitch.tv/UK Sim Racing. And the current TV, if you have myself, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain, a bit depending on what media you follow me on. And welcome to you guys and girls all in the Twitch chat currently. I hope you're all doing well this fine Thursday evening. And if you're not doing too well right now, perhaps you've got a bit of a frown, we'll turn that frown upside down. Let's turn it into a smile with some fantastic racing at lying in wait. And we've got plenty to talk about going into tonight, of course, with regards to our championship standings and also some class changes, which should definitely serve to shake up the field, whether it be in gold, silver or bronze. But let's give you a reminder of our calendar thus far and what we've still got lying in wait. And as we can see, we are at that midpoint of the season with rounds 6 and 7 today being on the 26th of October. But before all of this, we started all the way back on the 28th of September in rounds 1 and 2 in Brazil at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. Also known as Interlagos, we got the season off to an absolutely sensational start there, with battles of plenty up and down the field, whether it was in the gold, the silver or the bronze class. We then had our first mid-season break before returning for round number 3 and what was at the 12th of October for the Circuit of the Americas, and the COTA circuit absolutely bringing to life some fantastic brilliant action in what was the first endurance race round of the season. And whilst many drivers decided they weren't going to turn up there, given the fact they were expecting it to be a circuit which would be very difficult and perhaps one of those ones whereby they wouldn't be able to bring the car home after 45 minutes, the number that turned out for the race was much higher than expected, and it actually led to some rather interesting battles, and in particular the silver class battle for the win that went down to the wire between Carl Felbus and Lucas Romano, with Romano coming away with a victory on the penultimate lap. But then rounds 4 and 5 last time out on the 19th of October, we continued the theme of the United States of America. We made away from the state of Texas to downtown Detroit, or Belle Isle Park in Detroit in the state of Michigan, for the one and only Belle Isle Grand Prix circuit. And there the walls were closed, the night time loomed in, but all of our drivers managed to put on an absolutely brilliant show, there's no doubt about it. And we got to see at the front of the field the battle between Thomas Cope and Philip Hammer take a new step forward, with Thomas Cope leading the way, albeit at the same time we also got to see Nathan Foster from Empire Motorsport really proved to be a thorn in the side of both Cope and Hammer, and particularly Hammer, who took a long while to find his way through. He eventually did so, but it was only after he battered away at Foster's absolutely stout defence and Foster falling at the final hurdle. But now it's the 26th of October, we're round 6 and 7 at MotorLand Aragón, and after today on the 2nd of November, in a week's time, we'll be wrapping up this mid-portion of the season with a visit to Australia for the one and only Mount Panorama Raceway. But you know and love it and refer to it as Bathurst in reference to a local town, and it's going to be the story of who is going to be the king of the mountain as they compete in the second endurance race round of the season. 45 minutes of racing awaits our drivers, and then we'll have our second mid-season break. Now, after that mid-season break, which is in place due to the upcoming iRacing official 8 Hours of Fuji event, our drivers will be returning to form in the Porsche Cup 992 machines for rounds 9 and 10 at the Nürburgring Nordschleife Loop on the 16th of November. And in Germany there, we're going to be seeing our drivers taking on the Green Hell in all its glory. And who will come away prosperous? That will be the question. In our penultimate pair of rounds and our final heat and feature combination round, we will see at the Imola circuit play host on the Autodromo Enzo Itino Ferrari. And we'll all the drivers there taking on the Italian circuit, which really really is the one that's all about the need for speed with chicanes and straights. That'll be on the 23rd of November. Then we bring the curtain down and bring it all to a close. We'll return to the United States of America for the one and only roller coaster ride of road racing. It'll be none other than Road Atlanta in the state of Georgia and the Brazelton Sound Circuit. And for round number 13, we'll see us bring the curtain down, and that will be on the 30th of November, just in time for Christmas. But Christmas presents are a long way away, and as we give you an update on the championship standings, well, here they are after 5 rounds of 13. We start off with the gold class, and as we can see, Philip Hammer leads the way for Impulse Racing. The gap between him and Nathan Foster standing at a very healthy 19 points for the Empire Motorsport driver to chase down. However, Nicholas Nold in P3 for Impulse Racing falls into P3 there on 89 points, not quite able to match the heroics of Hammer, but coming close, and knowing that Foster really proves to be the one driver who's staying one step ahead currently. But could we see Foster and Nold go toe-to-toe again tonight? Western Hereford, meanwhile in P4 for Olympus XGD6, we can see him there on 88 points, only a further point behind, as in the battle for P2 right now, only 5 points separating the trio, and then approaching very fast. Keep in mind he wasn't around for the first 2 rounds of the season, and therefore already has a drop score against his name, a 0 score. It's Olympus XGD6 Thomas Cope, who on 79 points is continuing to charge after the top 4, and with his run of podiums and wins, which no doubt there he's going hunting for the top step, and indeed looking to defend his championship crown from the one and only multi-time champion of Philip Hammer. But outside the top 5 there by a further, what is, I do believe, 12 points, Emil Koopmans to Apex misses, makes the run to P6. 2 points to Blackout Motorsport OPR's Corey Lazarus, who had a difficult time last time out in Detroit, particularly in what was looking to be a phenomenal sprint race, and it really upset the balance as he had to fight his way through in what was the feature race. But still keep your eyes out for the New Zealander today, and look out for Marcel Fritsch for WS Racing Esports, who will be listed here in the gold class for now. But we should point out that Marcel Fritsch has been moved to the silver class as of this pair of rounds going forward, so therefore we're giving you the standings as they were after round number 5. But as of the standings next week that are presented, you will see Fritsch in the silver class there, the WS Racing Esports driver on 53 points, getting a good set of points on the board. However, his relative pace just hasn't quite been there thus far, and that's why he has been moved to the silver class there, to bring him in to perhaps a little bit more of a competitive back. That's the jurisdiction of UK Sim Racing admins, and class changes can occur over the course of the season, of course. But from him down to Tim Darracott and Effect Simulations on 51 points. We haven't seen him for the last couple rounds, and we hope to see a return of the Effect Simulations driver at some point later this season. We see Simon C. Bamber there in P10 for the UK Sim Racing admin team on 45, and then completing your run of the standings there, Bester SP11 at Lee Holmes at ATEC Racing Purple, and Ryan Walker for Satellite Racing on 20 points. We now come to the silver class. And here we can see leading the way by a grand margin on 115 points to the 96 of Jeremy DeBova. It's none other than HFT Racing's Carl Felvers. Now we should point out that Carl Felvers' run at the top of the silver standings will come to a close as of this pair of rounds, as he has been promoted to the gold class. We're showing you the standings after round number 5, of course, but you will see him in the gold category as of this pair of rounds onwards. And we wish Felvers all the best luck as he takes on the top tier class of this grid. And I'll tell you one thing, he's been in some gold standard performances so far this season. Indeed, a couple of points as well, competing for top 5s in the gold class if he was in that class. So therefore right now I think Carl, he'll be looking towards the challenge. He'll be a bit daunted by it, but I think as well he'll be looking forward to taking on the best of the best. However, that's not to say we haven't got some of the finest in the silver class, with Jeremy DeBova in P2, only 8 points clear of Forston Safet, the Ring Sim Racing driver chasing down the DBR driver, and 9 if he can have a few more consistent results come his way. There's no reason why the German driver couldn't be up into P2. And a Casper Tunstead by 3 points for Peak Sim Racing, and Lucas Romano completes the top 5 for RPM, only a further point behind. Chris Edison P6 on 83 points. He has a sizable advantage in return, 14 of which over Diva Lamy for DBR, with Sean Cranley Swash at P8 there on 68 points, and still having to fight his way through the order. Detroit really not proving providential for him, but doing very well to make his way through the order in the feature race in Detroit, and therefore keep your eyes out for the 24-hour Punty People driver as he looks to break away from Gus Franken, and Glenn Humberstone completes your top 10. Navarro DeBova, P11 there, best of the rest on 22 points for DBR. He's the best part of 13 clear of Roxanne Marshall for 24-hour Punty People. We're not going to see it on the grid today, unfortunately, but I can tell you Roxanne is doing all well and watching from the sidelines all the same. Then we can see it, Nicholas Grunstrom and Dirt Bounce complete your championship standings. We come to the bronze class, last but not least, and at the top it's 2 points that separates the two drivers who will continue to exchange the wins between them. A win streak of what was the best part of 3 wins came to a close for Ben Kirby last time out. It was Charlie Max who picked up both wins, But the Connexus Racing drivers, one for Friends Racing by Connexus, that's Charlie Max, and then the All Spares by Connexus driver Ben Kirby, they continue to dominate at the front of the field, and the battle between them could not be closer. Sean Dobie for Clicks Racing, keep your eyes out for the Scottish driver in the fact he's moved into P3 and is looking to stay clear of Craig Shield and looking for his first win of the season, and Dobie came close to it last time out in the heat race, if my memory serves me correctly, with Alan Thatcher P5 ahead of Mark Cadbore, and it's Jamie McEwen, Joe Pinder, Stephen Ray and Cameron Smith who complete your bronze championship standings. But now we come on to the team's championship standings here, and here we can see the complexion. Well, it's quite similar at the top of the field. In the fact, Impulse Racing lead the way on 186 points to 167 of Olympus XGDC. Olympus XGDC are closing the gap down, but the two teams are inseparable when it comes to racing. Indeed, in the last 3 races, we have had front rows in terms of those qualifying sessions locked out by the two teams, with either one team taking the front row and the other behind, or an intermingling of P1, P2, P3, P4 going in alternative teams. Then we can see Empire Motorsport, they're in P3 on 92 points, a bit of a no man's land as they try to chase down the top 2, but continue to break away from the rest of the field, with Blackout Motorsport OPL giving chase on 59 points and only 6 clear of HFT Racing. Apex Misses only outside the top 5 based on result countback, behind HFT Racing there in P6, with Vex Simulations 2 points off, and it's RPM, UK Sim Racing Admin Team and DBR who complete your top 10. Now outside the top 10 by 10 points, best SP11 is ATEC Racing Purple, who have 4 points over Ring Physiat Sim Racing, and it's WS Racing Esports for 2 points behind, with Peak Sim Racing and Friends Racing by Connexus completing your top 15. And then we have 24 Hour Punch people at P16, they're on 11 points, 2 clear of All Spares by Connexus, with only a point over ATEC Racing Sign in return. And to round off the top 20, it's the 2 teams on 7 points, Satellite Racing and Clicks Racing, with Satellite Racing ahead based on result countback. And P21, Iron Brew by Connexus Motorsports, and then we can see Alimus by Connexus and Beak Sim Racing completing your team's championship standings. But let's come on to our circuit then for today, and it is none other than MotorLand Aragón, or the Circuito de Alcañiz. Located near the town of Alcañiz in the Teruel region of the state of Aragón in Spain, this Grand Prix circuit, used predominantly for what is MotoGP racing, albeit a slightly different configuration, and becoming a more notable circuit in recent years with regards to four-wheel racing, is a circuit, as we can see from the circuit map provided by iRacing.com, and thank you to them for their brilliant simulator and the wonderful track maps that come with it, is a circuit that is absolutely brimming with variety, and the two-dimensional image doesn't quite describe how much elevation change it is over the course of this lap, sometimes crammed between 2 corners, as you'll see at turns 8 to 9, or alternatively the gradual elevation changes that occur over lap from say turn number 16 all the way up to one of the highest points of the circuit at turn number 7. But as the drivers make their way on around here, they'll need to try and manage those direction changes and also keep the tyres as cool as possible under the Spanish sun, for as they charge their way across the start finish line in towards turn number 1, it's a sharp left-hand right angle corner, onto the brakes they'll go, and as they sweep the way through the left-hander, it's then through the double right of turns 2 and 3 before they ascend up towards turns 4 and 5. Into the braking zone for turn number 5, they'll find it's another left-hand right angle corner. And as they make their way out of the semi-hairpin and come down towards turn number 7, it's through the sweeper of 6 there and looking to position the car well, before return to full throttle out of turn number 7 and charging up towards turns 8 to 9. Or should we really say down towards turns 8 to 9, with the elevation dipping, and it can feel like the Spanish corkscrew in reference to Laguna Seca in the US state of California, in the fact the drivers will make their way through the right into left there and need to get the braking point at turn number 8 absolutely right, so that way they can nail the speed drop they need to achieve before they get to the apex of turn number 9. Get it right and they'll sweep the way through turn number 10 rather rapidly at Marquez corner. Get it wrong, however, and they're going to go very deep and off into the runoff area. But as they make their way through the sweeper at 10, it's a flat out run down towards 11 and 12 before onto the brakes once again, and then sweeping through turn number 13, they'll find themselves into a medium speed extended chicane at turns 14 and 15 there, with a sharp left hand right angle corner of 15, the third of which on this circuit, and then see our drivers run out onto the back straight. Practically a kilometre in length as they make their way down towards turn number 16, and that's why the circuit is known as a archetypal Hermann Tilke circuit, as it wouldn't be a Tilke circuit without 1 kilometre back straight of some description. But as they make their way down there towards turn number 16 at the hairpin, they'll be onto the brakes and in to the very tight apex there. Side by side they'll go, while making their way through turn 17 and up towards 18, flat out to complete lap and do it all over again. Now, as for our rules for today, qualifying wise, a lone qualifying format shall be used, as is the tradition, with drivers having 8 minutes to set their best possible time. Racing shall commence via a standing start, with the heat race grid being set based on results of qualifying, that's a given, and the feature race grid being a partial reverse grid based on results of the heat race, with the top 8 positions inverted. There are no mandatory pit stop requirements in the heat or feature race, and 1 fast repair available in each race. And as we can see, a driver should receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 15 or more instant points in a given race of the day. But that's enough rules, that's enough regulation, everything in between. Let's head back to our live pictures here, ladies and gentlemen. Our schedule for tonight, times in British Summer Time or Universal Coordinated Time. That's BST or UTC at +1. As we can see there, well, we're going to be going into qualifying very shortly. Indeed, the checker flag has just been brought out on the final practice warm-up session, and well, we'll go straight into qualifying very shortly, 8 minutes in duration, and then we will go into what will be our first race of the day, the round 6 heat, 12 minutes in length. That'll be at 8:10, and after a brief 2-minute breather, our drivers will be making their way back to the grid for the reverse grid, top 8 reverse grid feature race, round number 7, 30 minutes in duration. They're 2.5 times the length of the heat race, and it'll get underway at 8:30 this evening, so plenty to look forward to. And it is an absolute scorcher of a day here. 31 degrees centigrade ambient, 46 degrees centigrade track temperature. I can tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, those tyres, they are going to be absolutely cooking by the end of this qualifying session, let alone at the end of a race. And could that prove to be something that undoes a few drivers, because tyre management is going to be absolutely key around here. But as we do see Lucas Romano making his way down in towards turn number 7 there in the number 39 car, just gradually bringing the car on around right now and heading in towards the Spanish chicane, indeed the Spanish corkscrew chicane I should say, or the equivalent, and coming on down here, just gradually nursing the car through for the first time. And you see him making his way off of turn number 9, and that cambering of the road as he comes off the turn 9 apex, the fact just sweeps the car out, and therefore he'll need to be careful with that. But as we can see there, Nixter Taylor, good evening to you, Nixter. I believe it's the first time you dropped us a message in the Twitch chat, and very happy to have you join us today. And if you tune in right now, ladies and gentlemen, perhaps you're sat there being a little bit shy, don't feel free to say hi. We don't bite here at UK Sim Racing. The only biting we do is biting on the brakes here. Indeed, all the drivers in the whole community are very friendly. We'll tell you a little bit more about the community later on today's program, but right now we do look to Kyle Felvers, who Nixter Taylor is cheering on, and well, the HFT racing driver here with his gold status going into this pair of rounds today is going to be a very different complexion. I think he's become accustomed to battling with Lucas Romano for the wins in the silver class, but right now he is going to have to step up the game and see where he fits into the flow of the pack in that gold class. I'm going to tell you one thing, I think Nathan Foster will be keeping one eye on Felvers for the simple reason they had an absolutely brilliant exchange for the best part of 20 minutes at the Circuit of the Americas in their battle for P5, which eventually led to Felvers running out of tyre life, which then gave the opportunity to Lucas Romano to take the win off of Felvers in the closing stages. And therefore I think Felvers right now will know that it could be an opportunity for a little bit of redemption here today in his battle with Nathan Foster from Empire Motorsport. We'll have to wait and see as he goes onto his first flying lap. But we also do look to Marcel Fritsch, the driver who's moved from gold to silver for WS Racing Esports. And as the Austrian makes his way across the line here onto his first flying lap, well, I think in the number 27 he'll be looking forward to seeing how he stacks up versus his silver peers. Indeed, he has been battling with the likes of Jeremy Debova and also Sean Cranny Swash over the course of the season so far, so I think he's going to fit in quite naturally into the silver class, to be fair, as he makes his way up the rise and into turn number 5. We're coming on to the brakes there. We also look there to say hello to what is Adrian F. Also we say hello there to Dippy60, who cheering on Carl there, and Adrian F giving his thoughts on the switch for the class for Carl Felvers, that is. And indeed those class changes can occur all the way up to typically the midway point of the season that we normally see at UK Sim Racing, and we are at that midway point now. But we also say hello there to Newman Pass, who is, I believe, cheering on what is none other than Nathan Foster, with Joe Newman being part of the Empire Motorsports team. And when we speak of the man, let's show him on screen. And here he is, he makes his way into turn at number 5, coming through the left-hander, and as number 52 driver makes his way on through, they're definitely one to watch out for. And I do think that one day he is going to pick up his first gold class win. It's got to come eventually, ladies and gentlemen. The fact he is pushing hard each and every round. We also do say hello to Jock Murrell there, who is saying that, well, he doesn't want to be seated in the car at the moment. I do believe in a bit of an exchange with Nathan Van Der Racing, and that's Jamie McEwen, I do believe, who's not on the grid today, but Jamie, we would love to see you on the grid later on this season if you are able to make it. But if you're not able to, you're just a spectator for now. Still at the same time, glad to have you tuning in with us, and we always appreciate your company here, whether it be on circuit, alternatively from the spectator stands. We also say hello to Nathan Van Der Racing there, and as the drivers make their way on through here, well, right now Sean Dobie, the Clicks Racing driver, again looking for his first bronze class win. And I'll tell you one thing, over the course of the last 2 or 3 seasons, Dobie has really come alive over the course of them. He started off battling for the bottom end of the top 10 in the bronze class, and he is now consistently chasing down the podium, even looking for that win, and therefore could it be his day today. As we make our way towards the midpoint of this qualifying session, we will very shortly be getting an onboard lap with one of our drivers, and I think we're going to be jumping on board with Oisin Hereford today, as he takes us around for a flying lap on the MotorLand Aragón Grand Prix circuit. Just making his way into turn number 1 and braking at 150 metres from corner apex into left-hander, avoiding the race sausage curve as he comes out 1 into 2. Shifting to 4th, nice and early there, flat out all the way through, using the runoff space on left, and now just letting the car roll uphill to turn number 3. Not too much speed there to go wide, but enough to carry him all the way out towards turn number 5, and now braking at the apex of 4, straight line braking there, open the corner up and come through the apex, and now let the car gradually drift out, roll onto the curb at turn number 6, so you can brake into turn number 7 shortly. As you can see there, having to get the car positioned well and braking about 90 metres from the turn 7 apex, as he makes his way out and now up towards the chicane. Now coming into the downhill chicane, you can't see the apex at turn number 8, so he has to brake nice and early, 100 metres from corner apex, all the way down to 2nd gear, and just gradually lifts the car through down to 1st. He's about to touch the apex curve, and now out flat out here as he charges his way on through, up into 4th gear, and going through turn number 10, having to balance the throttle there as he makes his way on through, lift but not too much. Now coming down towards turn number 12 here, getting ready to go onto the brakes, and braking up what will be about 110 metres from corner apex down to 3rd gear, down to 2nd on the apex there, that'll help him reposition the car back up to 3rd, so a short shift, then a short shift to 4th as well. To finish, so he can go flat out there with the short shift, and he now makes his way into 13, 14, down to 2nd gear, let the car come into the middle road, and immediately over to the right to turn it in for turn number 15. As he makes his way out, they're battling with power oversteer, just about keeps him in the limits, it looks like, as he makes his way down the back straight and all the way out towards turn number 16. And here, really able to open up the flat 6 engine with all its 500 or so horsepower of the Porsche 992 Cup car. Getting ready for the braking zone here, and it's the very last corner on the circuit in terms of how far the circuit extends out to the extremities, all the way down to 1st gear after braking for the 140 metre braking point. Now coming through turn number 17, flat out with short shift up to 3rd gear to settle the car, and now flat out through turn number 18 to complete the lap and do it all over again. And we'll put Oisin Hereford as he hits 5th gear there, crossing the line. Can he improve, or will it be not too big an improvement? It's a huge improvement. It moves him up to P2 overall, and it does. There goes a 2 minute with a 0.9 on top, and what a lovely lap there from Oisin Hereford, a 2 minute 0.9, but immediately Philip Hammer responds with a 2 minute 0.573, and he's only 800ths of a Thomas Cope, but once again Thomas Cope finds a way forward and to outpace Hammer in qualifying in the gold class. Meanwhile in the silver class, well, Lucas Romano right now currently P5 there and absolutely delivering, and well, Romano doing an incredible job in this qualifying session, with the best part of the fact that he is 9 tenths clear of his next competitor in the form of Thorsten Safet as it makes his way on around here. And right now you could imagine that Romano will be feeling as though this could be his day, albeit I think he'll also be missing Carl Felvers being in the class with him, and therefore it could be a little bit of a day where he's battling with his gold class peers. But meanwhile in the bronze class, it seems though we've got a little bit of a return to normal. Ben Kirby parts of the pit lane X there. He won't be getting another lap in, but he is currently provisional pole in the class with Charlie Max out. They're not able to get another lap in, but Ben Kirby will be taking P11 by looks soon, because nobody else is on a lap that's going to get through in time. So that is qualifying complete, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be Thomas Cope on pole, and then it for the gold class and overall, and then it will be Lucas Romano P5 silver pole sitter, and Ben Kirby will take P11 at bronze pole position there. But as we make our way to the grid, well, let's get ready for our first race of the day, because for round number 6, this is how they'll line up for the heat. As we can see, it is Thomas Cope who takes pole position this first race of the day here at the Circuito de Alcañiz for the UK Sim Racing Porsche Cup Season 8, brought to you on iRacing, and the Olympus XGD driver is joined on the front row by his rival Philip Hammer for Impulse Racing. On row number 2, it's the Olympus XGD driver Oisin Hereford, with Nathan Foster sneaking his way into P4 there for Empire Motorsport, a further half a second behind. And then Lucas Romano for RPM starts P5 on silver pole, ahead of Corey Lanceros for Blackout Motorsport OPR. The difference between the two of them, 1.5 tenths. Emil Koeman starts P7 for Apex Missers, and joined on the 4th row by silver P8 driver there of Thorsten Svet for Ring Fiat Sim Racing. And we're going to see the top 10 being completed by Marcel Fritsch for WS Racing Esports and Jeremy DeBoer for DBR. After the 2 tenths between them, we have a further what is, I do believe, 100 to Ben Kirby, who starts P11, and he's going to be starting there as the bronze pole sitter for All Spares by Connexers. Will Carl Felvis for HFT Racing have a difficult qualifying session and starting at P12, his weekend qualifying performance of the season thus far. Sean Cranny Swash starts P13 for 24-hour Punty People, joined on the 7th row by Alistair Hatcher for 8 Racing Siam. Then we have row number 8 going to Charlie Max by Friends Racing by Connexers. Clone Humberstone starts P16 for 8 Racing Purple. Then Mark Cadmore, the privateer, lines up P17 with Casper Tunstead alongside P18 for Peak Sim Racing. Final complete row of the grid goes to Chris Edisford for the UK Sim Racing admin team. And Shaw Dobie for Clicks Racing. And then last but not least is Craig Shaw for 8 Racing Siam. Well, that's going to be 21 starters, ladies and gentlemen. But who's going to come out on top when all is said and done? Well, there is the field. It's all set already. We are approximately 20 seconds away from going green flag racing here. Place your bets. For as we look to the right-hand side briefly, the weather conditions right now, the circuit has cooled down to 33 degrees centigrade, but it's still 31 degrees ambient. And here come the lights. 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out, away we go. It's a quick fire start for the field, and immediately Thomas Cope wastes no time in trying to hold on to lead. But look at it, some hammer who looks up the inside as they make the way into 1. With the sweeping left hand, that means the outside line is preferable as they make the way around and in towards turns 2 and 3. And as they come up the rise now, very shortly, all of our drivers safely making their way on through. We can see there's still plenty going on in the battles. In particular, we do see Emil Cooper is trying to put some pressure onto Corey Lazarus and Forsten Savet going hunting after Lucas Martin. In fact, Savet's already gained 2 places off the line and has leapt up through the field and is doing well to try and hold off Lazarus, and they make the way through turn number 5. Phenomenal start there from the 76 driver from Germany, making that progress count immediately. But Lazarus back up the inside here. He's not going to let this go because Lazarus wants to go hunting after Foster and company, but right now Savet's still keeping there. Lucas might have been bought a bit of a breather, but we've got a car around as they make the way out to turn number 7. Couldn't quite see who that was. Our camera angle's not been too obliging, but right now Ben Kirby and Carl Felvis being obliging to one another as Felvis looking around the outside of turn number 9 trying to get the cutback. Meanwhile, it's got very wrong there, and that is Forster Svet looking the wrong way. It's gone very, very wrong after it went so right at the start. And what's happened to Forster Svet? We'll have to try and find out very shortly. But meanwhile, as we look back here towards the mid-pack, we can see Ben Kirby in a 3 wide versus Sean Cranny Swash and Casper Tunstead. The Peak Sim Racer driver trying to go for 2 places. Meanwhile, hot on the brakes there, misses breaking point entirely. Alistair Hatcher will have to give that place back as he's taking it off circuit, albeit I think he will do something of an automated slowdown for his misdemeanors. But to be fair, he's one of the most respectful drivers you could ever race against. Hatcher's not going to be impolite about it, and as they make the way down through 15, we can see that Casper Tunstead makes his way back and through. Hatcher takes plenty of apex curb and then some. That's not going to help the left side suspension of that car, and the 964 right now I think licking its wounds and trying to get ready to go again. But meanwhile, they make the way on down the back straight. Chris Edisford battling side by side with here Sean Dobie. Dobie right now trying to hold on here. Edisford eager to make some early progress as they make the way in towards the braking zone and coming on towards what is turn number 16. Onto the anchors they go. Well, meanwhile, we can see there in the battle, which is a little bit further up the road, Ben Kirby and Hatcher still exchanging, and on top of that as well, Casper Tunstead trying to break away. And meanwhile, they make the way up towards the start-finish line here after 1 lap of racing, where everyone starts to calm down now, but looking from towards the back of the field to the front of the field. Already onto lap number 2 is Thomas Cope, so it is Cope ahead of Hammer, followed by Hereford, who's P3, Foster P4 ahead of Romano, who's the silver leader P5, Lazarus P6 ahead of Koopmans P7, Marcel Fritsch P8 there ahead of Carl Felvis, and then Jeremy DeBover completes your top 10 with at best P11 Sean Cranny Swash, who has gained 2 places since the start. But as we show you those place gains from our drivers, as you can see on the left-hand side of the screen there, the biggest gainer of them all so far, Casper Tunstead, 6 places gained off of the start, and therefore now as he makes his way onto this second lap, he'll be looking to try and go hunting after what will be a 4th place in silver, with Sean Cranny Swash holding that position right now as they make the way in towards turn at number 7 for the second time of asking. But again, the Dane will know that making your way past Sean Cranny Swash is something easily said, but it's harder to do in the fact that Cranny Swash knows how to make his car very wide, and he's a multi-time winner in the silver class. He knows exactly what he needs to do, and well, with Silverstone particularly you face him there, he's going to be onto a winner. But meanwhile, that's not onto a winner for Carl Felvis, who catches the car, who rolls back onto the racing line, but the HFT Racing driver gets it turned around, and the 77 driver here, his bad luck in qualifying has only started to be exacerbated in the race as a spin coming out of 9, and it's gone very wrong there, for which Sean Dobie manages to catch it before it goes to the wall. This circuit right now absolutely slippery as it comes, in the fact I think the tyre's just not able to grip up, all 32 hot to handle. But meanwhile, as we look back here, that's a slowdown, I believe, on the right-hand side of your screen for what is Philip Hammer as he goes quite slowly there. And meanwhile, Ashton Heffern and Nathan Foster both pick their way through. Cope is running away with us at the front of the field currently as they make the way in towards turn number 16, but then again, one thing you do have to count on with Hammer is the fact no matter how many times he gets knocked down, he will get back up as they make the way through turn 16 into 17 right now. And as we always say when it comes to the feature race, there's only two things in the feature race that are inevitable, which is somebody's going to win the race at some point, and on top of that as well, Hammer is going to come through the field. You can't prevent it, but meanwhile, it's going to be a case that one driver is trying to prevent something happening here. It's Chris Edison. He tries to defend versus Max, who goes very wide and releases the position to Alistair Hatcher. Carl Felvers has had to be towed to the pit lane due to an issue with the car after that spin, from what I gather, as they make their way onto another lap. Meanwhile, Forsten Svet battling with Mark Cadmore makes his way past the bronze driver for P18, and the number 76 right now on its way to recovery. But as they make their way up towards turn number 1, meanwhile, we do look back to Marcel Fritsch, who finds himself under some increasing pressure from this man behind. Oh, it's Casper Tunstead, and Tunstead's going to look for the move here, going up into 4-5 on the inside. Fritsch backs out there, 9-2, doesn't really go into 1 on that braking zone, given how they have the straight line brake towards the edge of the track surface, going into 5 off of the quarter of 4. But with Fritsch having to back out there now, Cranley Swash is going to have an opportunity to get a bit closer and think about his own move here as they make the way through turn number 7 and winding through the right-hander as they make the way down to the chicane, the downhill chicane into the braking zone they go. We have an opportunity to take a look back at some of the moments from the opening laps, including what happened to Charlie Max. So this was the battle between Max and Cranley Swash into turn number 7 on the opening lap, and well, the space was given between the two, but Max then losing the rear of the car, I think of his own volition that the tyres just not in the right zone to go for that move and get the power down immediately. And then only moments later, this happened to Forsten Svet, the Ring 58 Sim Race driver. Phenomenal start, came down the hill, contact there with Corey Lazarus that unsettled the car, and as he rolled off the corner, more the momentum of the car. And the thing with these Porsche 992s is the engine being over the rear axle, as the tradition of a Porsche machine with its rear engine rear wheel drive drivetrain. I mean, the Svet just could not get the car stopped there with the downhill momentum, and also a biff to the wall there with the rear of the car does mean that car is going to be feeling some pain on its aerodynamics. And then only a lap later, it went wrong for Carl Felvers. So HFT race at the same corner in a bit of a side swipe battle with the number 27 at Marcel Fritsch, and well, the two of them coming together. They need one more to yield. Vinny and Felvers coming off the worst as a result of it. I wouldn't be surprised there's a little conversation between the pair of them after the race today just to sort out the differences, but right now Felvers definitely, I think, fuming from that one. And then for Sean Dobie, later on, coming out of what was turn at number 11 here, it was going to go well, was it? No, it wasn't, as the rear came loose, and he caught the car in time, but that's a huge lock-up on the brakes there, and that is going to flat spot the tyres and send the temperatures through the roof. I can tell you that, and it's already a warm day here today. But as you return to your live racing pictures, ladies and gentlemen, drivers now onto lap number 4 here. We're at the halfway point of this heat race in round number 6 of the UK Sim Racing Porsche Cup Season 8, and as I try to make the way on and through here, we're right now everybody trying to keep the cool, but at the same time keep the heat on their rivals, as Marcel Fritsch finding Cranley Swash immediately behind him still as they make the way on around. As we jump towards the 24-hour punt people drive from Canada, going up towards what is turn number 7 once again. And I think the 117 driver is starting to think about looking for the move here, but can he find it? That will be the challenge that confronts him, in the fact that right now running this close, the problem you have is the fact you run into a wall of dirty air off the car in front. And we talked about this a number of times, the fact the Porsche 992 Cup car does not have too much aerodynamics. The only real aerodynamics to note is on the rear of the car with the huge spoiler, or the massive rear wing as we could say, and therefore when you start to have that dirty air coming over the front of the car, it unsettles the aero balance even more, and it means that suddenly all of that down push you have towards the rear of the car, it starts to be lifted to a degree, and the car just feels very prone to understeer and corner entry, and then suddenly just wants to oversteer and corner exit when you try and get the power down. It's a nasty balancing act, and that's the thing with MotorLand Aragón circuit, is that there's plenty of opportunities to technically pass, but you've got to be close enough to put the pressure on and make the overtakes happen. And that's exactly what Cranley Swash does. He makes way out of 15, a good run out of the corner, gets the better exit as well, but now in the acceleration phase, you can see not really able to gain too much. Fritsch now, I think, really deciding to go for a little bit longer gear ratios on his car as they make their way up towards turn number 16. As you can see, the while Swash is in the toe here, he's not close enough to look for the movement. We know down straights, as long as that's such a circuit, the America's drivers can gain a lot of time. As meanwhile, there's time to be gained here from both Fritsch and Cranley Swash. As Cranley Swash goes up the inside of Fritsch, I think being spellbound there by the incident in front of him, which was a bit of contact between Tunstead and Debova. The two of them coming into contact, and Cranley Swash goes up the inside there for 18 and gains the place. That's a P4 in the silver class, and Tunstead and Debova are battling for second place in the silver class right now. So we have got a four-way fight for the runner-up spot in the silver class. We've still got 3.5 minutes to go here as Fritsch goes a bit deep there into turn number 1, but let's take a look back at how that was all triggered. So it was Tunstead and Debova side by side. Now Debova comes off the apex a little bit too early and carries a bit too much speed, and that leads to him pulling Tunstead wide. Now Fritsch has to back off out of respect for the incident that's occurring in front, but then Cranley Swash simply says, well, don't mind if I do, I'll take it off of you, thank you, and therefore capitalising the opportunity. A nice bit of opportunism there from the 117. But as we return to the pictures here, it's not over between Swash and Fritsch as they make their way in towards the right-hander. 3 minutes left on the clock here, and neither one of them are baiting. Will be a bit of a rub there. Fritsch being pushed slightly wide, albeit I think he'll be allowed to rejoin as they make their way down in to the Spanish corkscrew. Coming on through here, Swash on that inside line has to manage the way to the car. It's so easy to have the car go deep, but meanwhile, Wondro's not going deep, and in fact, he's trying to go high with his aspirations here, trying to finish inside the top 10. If he can get that P8 as well, he'd love to achieve that. But the reverse grid, as Fritsch loses the rear of the car, Kirby's going to look up the inside here, and he's looking to try and take P11 off the silver driver, but the bronze leader right now, 9 as well. He's got to prioritise winning in the class just as much as he has it. Oh, goodness me, and hold that thought, because Cranley Swash has gone round there on the run out of turn number 12, and well, another driver falling victim to the latter half of this circuit. I think they're just getting on the power a little bit too soon, and with the runoff curve in there not offering as much grip, plus hot tyres, well, 2 and 2 goes together, and it doesn't make 4 in this instance. It makes for a nasty spin, which the Canadian driver able to pick it back up and go again. But meanwhile here, battling forward, it's P5 overall. This is between the gold driver Corey Lazarus and the silver driver Lucas Romano. Lazarus up the inside there, and I wouldn't be surprised if Romano decided to relinquish the position as well, rather than just fight it outright, for the simple reason, in the end of the day, he'll want to pick up the point and make sure he doesn't fall back into the clutches or say Koopmans or Tunstead behind as they make the way in towards turn number 1, going into left hand. A big question being asked there from Phoenix Sim Racing 23, which is what happened to Carl Fells. A couple of items did happen to Carl, but we'll have to suspend that thought, ladies and gentlemen, for a brief moment, because we have had an incident where I think Chris Edisford and Mark Cadwell and Alistair Hatcher into the hairpin, and we have a quick replay to find out what exactly has happened. Well, that's Mark Cadwell getting it wrong. That's coming through turn number 13. Rear of the car letting go there for the Rexy Mobile. Meanwhile, for Alistair Hatcher coming on down to the braking zone here for ATEC Racing Team Cyan. 964 driver on the brakes there from what was at the time P3 in the bronze class. And there's the misses braking point. I think Hatcher, they're braking a little bit early by incident as well. So I think both drivers getting it wrong there. And as a result, a bit of a knock to the rear of Hatcher's car. It just looks like he broke about 25 minutes too early and then realised shortly. And then Edison, I think, didn't realise it and therefore gave him the tap on the rear, but they've been able to settle things down now and go racing once again. But to answer the question from Phoenix Sim Racing 23, what happened to Carl Fells, who is in the pit lane? The car has had to be retired, but I believe he will be back out on the grid for the next race of the day. As meanwhile, well, we try and tell the story, but a new story comes up on our screens. Marcel Fritsch losing the rear there, coming down for turn number 9. That's going to cost him a whole plethora of places. He loses out to Kirby, loses out as well to what is Humberstone, and now he's going to have Charlie Max trying to go around the outside, but Max can't find a way through. Meanwhile, Max is made to go wide, and here comes Cranley Swash trying to look up the inside, trying to make a little bit of opportunity work here after making it work much earlier on in the race, but Fritsch defends and says, no, you don't, as they make the way through turn number 11 to 12, as they come through into now number 13. And meanwhile, we look from them to your race leaders, ladies and gentlemen, and well, it has been Thomas Coates' race to lead from the start, and as he makes his way on through the last couple of corners, it's going to be Thomas Coates' race to win here, taking the first win of the day in Spain. It's Olympus X GD6 Thomas Coates from England, and behind him will be his teammate to make it Olympus X GD6 1-2. It's Austin Hereford, Nathan Foster P3 for Empire Motorsport, holding off Philip Hamilton after Hammers slow down coming out of turn number 15. Corey Lazarus will finish P5 ahead of Lucas Romano, who will be your silver class winner here for RPM P6, Elmer Koopmans P7, and Casper Tunstead holds on to take his first ever podium in the class this season. I do believe in his first second place, most definitely for Pete Sim Racing, ahead of Jeremy DeBoer, who rounds off the silver podium P9. Ben Kirby takes the bronze win there for All Spares by Connectors P9, P10 I should say overall, but bronze winner Glenn Humberstone P11, and then Charlie Max has come on through to take the run-up spot in the bronze class ahead of Sean Cranley Swash. Craig Shaw will be third place in the bronze class there, and a great drive from the ATEC Racing Team Cyan driver. And there's Alistair Hatch ahead of Chris Edisford, Marcel Fritsch, Sean Dobie. That unfortunate spin cost him very dear in this race, but sets a personal best in the final lap, and then it will be shortly the last finish of this race, none other than Mark Cadmore, as he makes his way through the last couple of corners, and will the 86 driver here will right now he'll be pleased to get some points on the board with a 6th place finish in the bronze class, but I think he'll be hoping he can go a little bit further next time and take the fight to his peers. But goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, what a first race of the day. It didn't come more intense than that, and whilst we have got 2 minutes to spare, let's take you through those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. So as we can see, after 12 minutes of racing here at the MotorLand Aragón circuit in Spain, Olympus XGDC making it a 1-2 in round number 6, with Thomas Cope finishing at first ahead of teammate Øystein Hereford second. It's the first time they've achieved a 1-2 this season, and behind them, Nathan Foster makes his way onto the podium for Empire Motorsport, holding Philip Hammer at bay there in the closing stages, with the Impulse Racing driver being taken down the pec in terms of the order, down to P4 by a slowdown and not able to recover from it. But still plenty more to come from him, there's no doubt about it, with Corey Lazarus finishing a further 6 seconds behind for Black Hat Motorsport OPR P5, and then your silver winner of Lucas Romano, the RPM driver, taking 6th place ahead of Emil Koopmans Apex Missers, and then the rest of the silver podium followed with Peak Sim Racing's Casper Tunstead with his second place in the class this season, and Jeremy Debova making a return to the podium for DBR. So your silver podium was Romano, Tunstead and Debova. P10 Mills, your bronze winner of Ben Kirby for All Spares by Connexus, ahead of Glenn Humberstone for ATEC Tech Racing Purple as Bester SP11. Charlie Max to run up in the bronze class P12 ahead of Sean Cranley Swash, with Craig Shield completing the bronze podium of Kirby, Max and Shield. Then Alistair Hatcher completing the top 15 ahead of Chris Eddersford, Marcel Fritsch, Sean Dobie, and then Mark Cadmore's the last lead lap finisher P19 of the privateer, ahead of the retirees of Forsten Svert and Carl Felvers, with Svert finishing 2 laps down but will be classified as a race finisher, and Felvers being classified as 4 laps down and may not be classified as a finisher as he did not complete half the race distance after what was unfortunate contact between himself and Marcel Fritsch coming down into the corkscrew of turns 8 to 9, the corkscrew chicane if you will, and therefore Felvers with the car being put into a spin, and then there was a later spin I do believe for Felvers which put him even further down the order. It did lead to him having to retire the car there, but he'll be back and starting from the back of the grid as of this next race. As all of our drivers get set, ladies and gentlemen, we are now only moments away from going to the grid for our second race of the day, and it's a little bit of an empty circuit at the moment. You can understand entirely why I think all the drivers want a breather from the Spanish sun, and right now Sean Dobie just gradually bringing the car to a halt. They're coming on through turn at number 7, or does he? No, he carries on, but he'll be made to bring it to a halt very shortly because it is time, ladies and gentlemen, to go to the grid. So as our drivers make their way to the grid, this is how they'll line up for the purposes of the round 7 feature race here at what is the MotorLand Aragón circuit. Well, it is Ben Kirby who takes pole out. I think the rules have changed this season for what is a top 10 reverse grid, and therefore we'll make sure to update that next time. But point being, Ben Kirby, the bronze winner last round, now takes the pole position slot there, P1 ahead of Jeremy Debova P2. Alongside them and behind it will be Casper Tunstead and Emil Koopmans on row number 2, with Lucas Romano and Corey Lazarus starting on the 3rd row. Row number 4 goes to Philip Hammer and Nathan Foster, with Øystein Hereford and Thomas Cope completing your top 10. Meanwhile, behind the Olympus XGD6 pair will be Glenn Humberstone starting P11, joined on the 6th row by Charlie Max. And then we have on row number 7, Sean Cranley Swash and Craig Shield, with row number 8, P15, P16 going to Alistair Hatcher and Chris Eddersford respectively. Then Marcel Fritsch and Sean Dobie on row number 9 there. And on the final complete row, it will be Mark Cadmore and Forsten Svert, with Carl Felvers starting from the back of the pack. But all the field is lined up, ladies and gentlemen, and here come the lights. That makes 3 lights, that makes 4, that makes 5, and that makes a race start. It's lights out, and away we go for our second race of the day here at the Circuito de Alcañiz, and as they make their way down towards turn 1, Ben Kirby immediately on the defensive, but look at this, as Koopmans sweeps round. Meanwhile, it's Jeremy Debova up the inside, and Koopmans flying on through. Meanwhile, there's plenty of cars going wide, Koopmans going deep as well, and we've got a car going very slowly in the back of the picture. I do believe that might have been Glenn Humberstone there trying to recover the car, but as they make their way up the hill, well, right now, Emil Koopmans has got it wrong, but Jeremy Debova holds on to lead as they roar their way through in towards turn number 5, and already Thomas Cope trying to battle his way past Philip Hammer, with Corey Lazarus also in the mix there as they come on through turn number 5 in towards 6, 7, and his battles are plenty as they roll their way through the opening set of corners. Everybody right now having to experience trepidation here as they get the tyres warmed up as best they possibly can, as quickly as they can, and also the brakes with it. And as they make their way down, well, right now it's Hammer and Cope side by side. We've been waiting to see this day, and we'll Cope there going on tight onto the outside, goes around Hammer, but then finds a little bit of Constantine with teammate Øystein Hereford. A bit of contact from the rear of Cope to the front of Hammer, but they've been able to survive it as they make their way on through turn number 10 and up towards 11. And my goodness, that could not have been a closer start between our drivers, but it's not over yet, as Jeremy Dove and Casper Tunstead right now battling for the overall lead, plus the silver class lead here as they come down in towards turn number 12 and going through the left into the right here. Well, Jeremy Dover leads this field in a long line through as they make their way up towards turns 14 and 15. But the point being right now, there's one thing we definitely know Dover can do exceptionally well, and he can defend absolutely resolutely. He is one of the hardest drivers to pass, and as they make their way up towards turn 16, Tunstead is going to be experienced now, there's no question about it. As we are off camera, Alice Hatch is moving to P2 in the bronze class class ahead of Charlie Max as they make the way up towards turn number 16. Well, it's going to be Tunstall. In fact, gives a very strong run down here. I don't think the Bobas had time to react, but look at Ben Kirby behind Kirby going later and later on the brakes. Meanwhile, Oisin Hefer makes contact to the rear of Kirby. Kirby starts to go around. He catches the car of Cope now. Meanwhile, they go 4 wide coming through turn 17. That's not going to be possible. And in the end, you can see why as Oisin Hefer goes backwards into the road. And as they do, car off of plenty there. That's Nathan Foster who takes the scenic route to avoid any carnage. And I think also we did have there none other than what was, I believe, who also went off the road. We haven't quite had the data come through, but I think that might have been Glenn Humberstone had to navigate wide as well. It's pandemonium at the last couple of corners in the opening lap, and Oisin Hefer has had to retire the car due to the damage picked up from the spin. But meanwhile, with 20 still on the field, we've gone to lap number 2, and it's been an absolutely entertaining first lap, I can tell you, and I don't think they're calming down at any point just yet, because Philip Hammer right now is Emil Koopmans right behind him, and Koopmans is not going to let this go as they make the way up towards turn number 7. But as they do, Ben Kirby as well. Well, Kirby right now is going to look in his rearview mirror and think, my goodness, what have I got coming up behind me? And then he's going to realise that he's got 2 gold drives that are right on his heels. As they make the way down towards turns 8 and 9, we're coming on to the brakes here, into the right, into the left. We're right now between a rock and a hard place, and the fact that Kirby, I think, would love to have an opportunity to take an overall podium. He'd be the first bronze rider to ever do so in the bronze class. Is new for this season of racing. But meanwhile, speaking of what's new right at the front of the field, Casper Tunstall having a little bit of wobble wide on circuit. There, a bit of understeer creeping as he fell off the circuit, off of the curbs in particular. And as he comes down towards turn number 12, he's got Thomas Cope close behind. Now, I think Peak Sim Racing are going to be on the radio to Tunstall to say, look, what's worth more, taking your first win in the silver class or trying to fight for a position that may eventually go the way of Thomas Cove? I think in the end they'll be encouraging him to try and fight for as long as he can, but then realise when the battle is over, and we can understand why, because Tunstall right now would love to have a huge points injection for a class win. There's no doubt about it. We'll have to wait and see whether he gives up the fight or not. But meanwhile, Koopmans there not close enough to really get stuck in versus Kirby and Hammer. But although I say that, Koopmans now in the second phase of the straight, building up some speed, but as they make the way down, firstly is Cove ahead of Tunstall. I think Tunstall there letting the place go. Meanwhile, Kirby defending hard. Well, right now the bronze leader, he's not intimidated by what is 2-time champion Philip Hammer in the gold class. I can tell you that, because Kirby is absolutely fighting hard, and with that Emil Koopmans comes on through, this Hammer drops at the circuit slate coming through 17 as they make the way into lap number 3. Well, after 2 laps of race, it's Cove ahead of Tunstall, followed by Kirby, then Koopmans, then Hammer, followed by Felvers. Felvers had a great start, in fact 15 places gained from Felvers. This is a phenomenal recovery so far from the HFT Racing driver. Romano P7 ahead of Foster, then it's Devova, and then completing the top 10 Max. Best the rest is Alistair Hatcher P11. But let's take a look back at that race start, ladies and gentlemen, and look in particular from Carl Felvers' perspective. We're going to jump on board here from the HFT Racing driver, who of course had that dismal end to the first race of the day. Now watch what happens. Firstly, Sean Dobie bogs down, same for Chris Edison to 2 places gained. Felvers now already up into P19 as he makes his way on down there, goes to the outside, known as all the space available, and he's going to see a little bit of chaos occur in front of him. Cuts back, he gets 1, 2, 3, 4. My good lord, Felvers gaining 6 places as a result of cutting back through turn 1. If you add on the cars that went off the road, and then going uphill here, clearing also was the car on his inside. I think that was Sean Cranley Swash. So Felvers absolutely sensational on the opening 3 corners, and all over the back there of was the DBR car in front of him of Romano. So still trying to gain places, but in the end coming to a halt. But we take a look back at what happened to Glenn Humberstone at the start of this race as they made the way down, and also Emil Koopmans. We start with Koopmans here, and he just missed his braking zone and went straight on. Glenn Humberstone, meanwhile, in contact there with Marcel Fritsch. We have to take a look back at that from the perspective of Marcel Fritsch as to what happened as they made the way down. I think here the 2 of them may just come together under braking. We can see there Fritsch goes to the inside, comes in far too up, misses braking point entirely. That explains what happened. And so Fritsch misses braking point trying to go up the inside, which was a smart attempt to be fair, but the Austrian just too much speed to do it correctly, and therefore he'll recover from that one. He'll learn from it, and Humberstone I think will know what's happened when he looks back there after the day. But as we do look back to our live pictures, ladies and gentlemen, we're never too far away from them. Meanwhile, that's Philip Hammer having another hairy moment coming through turn number 16. It seems like that hairpin and he do not get along, and well, that is going to be Felvers, who looks to go inside to outside here, but Hammer's coming back immediately, and as they charge their way down towards turn number 1, in behind is Lucas Romano as well. They headed towards the braking zone here. Romano's thinking about it. He wants to go fighting, does Romano. He wants to chase down Carl Felvers. I don't think the battle between the ex-silver driver and the silver leader's quite done yet, but Hammer's going to intervene here and say, no you don't, he's mine. And as they make the way through 2 into 3, well, right now the narrative narrative here really being that Kyle Felbus is on course for a potential podium in the gold class here on his debut in the class as of this pair of rounds, if he can keep Hammer at bay. But that's much easier said than done, I can tell you that. But Kyle Felbus right now, I can tell you one thing, that class change has only fired him up, and that retirement from race number 1 even more so. But meanwhile, Nathan Foster also coming through, the Empire Motorsport driver here, also trying to make some heroics of his own as he tries to edge his way up the inside of Romano, can't seem to find it. But remember, this is a 30-minute race, we're only 7 minutes in, and I think with all the battling we're seeing from our drivers and all the sliding, the power oversteer modes and the wheel spins we're also seeing, we are going to see some tyres drop off towards the end of today. And could we see some drivers suddenly just fall off the cliff for proverbial pace in terms of tyre life? Well, that's going to be the big question as they make the way on through and up towards turn number 12. Well, meanwhile, we do look to Kyle Felbus and Hammer right now onto the brakes, and Hammer once again right there waiting to go on the offensive. Meanwhile, Ben Kirby's gone incredibly wide off to the gravel there, and I think Ben Kirby may have missed his braking point, or he had a lock-up and decided to lift off the brakes in order to prevent the lock-up, preserve the tyres, and instead just pick up a 1X for his misdemeanor off circuit. But meanwhile, that's going to be Charlie Max, who goes around the outside to inside through 14-15, and that's the bronze lead that exchange hands very quickly. And after Max was doing so well to hold on to what was P4, well, right now he's lost it all in the space of a short window of time, and now he's battling with his main rival. But it's 3 wide almost, as Lazarus almost goes to be 3 wide, but then that's the back of as Kirby swings to the inside. Onto the brakes they go, and Max is going to try and outbrake Kirby, but Kirby's got the inside line. Bit of a lock up there from what looks to be DeBova as they try to make their way through the corner, but still 3 wide coming off the corner. Lazarus is there, he's the faster of the trio, but the problem is he can't find a way to safely get alongside and make this move happen. And as they make the way up towards turn number 1 for the 5th time of asking, Kirby here goes the inside. Lazarus thinks about it as well, but they both have similar minds. Great minds think alike here, and it's going to be a great bow into the corner, but Lazarus backs out, doesn't go for the Moses manoeuvre here into the corner. Car very wide there, and that is Lucas Romano, who's had a little bit of an expedition, and indeed replicating some of the expeditions we've seen previously. But Corey Lazarus all over the back, absolutely fighting strong versus Max. Kirby has found his way back ahead as a result of that move into turn number 1, but I think right now it's a question of when, not if, Max can make the return move on Kirby again, and Lazarus as well, really trying to slot into this battle as they come out to turn number 5, up towards 7 they go, and as they do, well, this trio knows the tail as they come through the right-hander and going all the way on through. Well, right now, could we expect a change here? Well, meanwhile, we've got a change happening for what is P16 overall, P6 in the silver class, as you can see, Sean Cranley Swash making his way on through and getting the job done there versus Marcel Fritsch. I think Fritsch just slightly offline, and as a result, losing some pace through the corners, and Cranley Swash now going to look for a move up the inside here versus Dobie. It's going to be a battle of the silver and the bronze. Swash there not backing out, and Dobie made to go the long way round turn number 8. That's going to compromise his line into 9, and you can see there Fritsch having to back up, and in fact the front brakes locking up there for Fritsch's car, in the fact he had to get on the brakes a lot more aggressively for Dobie as they make their way through. Dobie still offline, and Glenn Humberstone's also going to come through, so the silver drivers absolutely committing daylight robbery versus the Scotsman in the 159. And right now Sean Dobie losing 3 overall places. He won't have lost any class places, but I wouldn't be surprised there if he's going to be a little bit frustrated at the fact that he's just minding his own business and suddenly he's been tossed down the order. But as he makes his way through turn number 13, still plenty to go here, there's no doubt about it. But meanwhile, we look here to Felbus versus Hammer, and the Briton is getting his elbows out, but Hammer is down the inside. It's up into turn 16. Hammer going as late as possible. Lock up on the front left brake. Hammer does not want to back out, but look at this. Foster's also looking for the move as they make the way up towards the start finish line. But as they go, Felbus holds on again, and Cole Felbus right now, I mean, he's pushing it to the absolute limit, but he knows exactly where the rules are in terms of lines for battling. And to be fair, we love to see this as they make their way down towards turn number 1, and these 3 are all in the fight now with Nathan Foster getting right onto the back of this. Jeremy DeBova is also right at the back of this group as well, so we've got a silver drivers creeping in. This is going to be a 4-way fight for 4th place overall, and if we ride on board with the 52 of Empire Motorsports Foster going up the hill here, I think he's just going to be thinking, okay, take your time with this, they're battling extremely hard, you may be able to gain both places. And as they come through turn number 5, takes a bit too much apex curve down the front left tyre, that's going to unset the balance of the car, but he'll be able to bring it back together quite nicely. But coming in towards the right hander of 7 here, Foster's just got to keep his cool, and if he can, he may be able to make a double as he makes his way up towards turns 8 and 9 here. So I don't think it's going to be long before Felbus once again has to go defensive, and the question is, where's Foster going to be when Felbus and Hammer have the next exchange? As they come down through turn at number 9, you see Foster fighting at the wheel every step of the way and to correct the car as he makes his way through turn at number 10 and 11 up towards what he goes for Mark Marquez, and as they go in up towards the next braking zone, well, Felvis there just enough ahead of Hammer. Hammer trying to make Felvis think he's going to go for the move, trying to throw a dummy, but Felvis not falling for it as they come through the left-hander in to the right-hander at turn number 13, and over they go here, and Foster right now still as close as he's been all the way through, only 2 tenths between them at 9. There's no real move possible here, you've just got to stay in the game or get the better exit onto this back straight, and Foster there turning in nice and early, in fact a little bit too early, and catching himself out, and that's going to split him 3.5 tenths back now as they make the way on down the back straight into the charge. We're going in towards the next braking zone here. Felvis once again pulls the inside. He knows that Hammer's going to go for it immediately, but now Hammer's going to give the kind in return in the fact that he'll pin Felvis that inside all the way into the corner, and Hammer's going to outbrake Felvis in terms of getting a nose ahead, but Felvis has the right to that inside. He can extend the corner as much as he wants, and in the end Hammer made to sit behind as Felvis simply there parks the car through 16 and 17 and says, no, it's my way or the highway. But here comes Foster, and Foster looks around the outside versus Hammer. He tries to get one. Can he do it here as they head down towards turn number 1? It's going to be Foster on the left of your picture, Hammer on the right, and in the middle is Felvis. Onto the brakes they go, and Foster is side by side with Hammer through turn number 1, and as they go on through, Foster goes a little bit wider. He's going to have to defend into 2. Felvis is being given a breather as a result as they make the way uphill here through turns 2, 3, and into 4, 5 they go. Still side by side, a little bit of door up between the two of them there. Hammer lets the car run wide as a result, but he's going to have the inside into turn number 5, and Foster backs out in time with Jeremy DeBova inching close now. So Nathan Foster couldn't get it done that time, but he sent the signal to Hammer, which is, if you have a bit of a battle with Felvis and I'm in the right place, I'm going to take the place off of you, as he looks up the inside once again into turn number 7, and Foster right now firing on all cylinders. Hammer leaving the door open there, looking vulnerable. Felvis is running away, 1.2 seconds is already the gap to Felvis. They make the way up towards turn number 8. It's Foster on the inside, Hammer on the outside. They'll switch back positions for turn number 9, but who's going to be the bolder of the two here? It's going to be Hammer, extends his defence. Meanwhile, look at Romano, and what is there? Lazarus comes on the outside. Glance there between the two cars there, or taking a look at one another as a minimum. Camera angle not too gratifying in terms of giving us any information, but as they make the way out of turn number 9, charging up the way towards turn number 12 right now. Romano and Lazarus getting caught together in this. Jeremy DeBova as well. 9, the battle for second between him and what is Romano. Great friends of the circuit, of course, all part of one big happy family of DBR and RPM. Indeed, one of the greatest families out there in the world of sim racing motorsport, I can tell you that. As they come down towards turns 14 and 15, I think they're going to play the patience game right now because they're looking for a double podium here in the silver class, but they're also wary of the fact the fighting in front of them right now is only intensifying and is causing the entire field from what is now P4 all the way down to P13 to close up. Indeed, all those cars separated by a margin of 10 seconds currently, and they're getting closer. As they make the way down towards turn number 16, once again into the hairpin. This time Hammer backs off and lets Felvis make a mistake of his own, and Felvis outbrakes himself into the corner, and as everybody stacks up together, they're making the way through. Felvis rejoins, but Hammer gets the move done in the end, and all he needed to do was let Felvis push himself into his own error there. It happens, of course, and as they make the way down towards turn number 1, could that be a sign that Felvis has pushed himself and the car too hard in the early stage of this race? Could we see more of that as we go into the second half? We'll have to wait and see, but either way, I can tell you one thing, Felvis has announced himself in the gold class sleigh. That's a certainty, and we want to see more of it. Meanwhile, Corey Lazarus here still trying to pick his way past some of the silver drivers in front of him. That's Romano and DeBova. He's really had difficulty in passing Romano over the course of this race, but to be fair, both been racing fairly. And in towards turn number 5 they go, and Lazarus really having to squeeze his way out the inside there under braking, and a New Zealander getting it done very nicely in the number 4, but now Romano tries to come back here on the run out of 5 in towards 7. He's going to go all the way around or cut it back here as Lazarus defends, and as they make the way of corner, running wide there, that's Felvis. I think he might have had a bit of a moment under braking once again, and meanwhile Lazarus here does confirm the position ahead of Romano as they come down into turns 8 and 9, but fantastic racing from all these guys, and as they make the way on through, well now Felvis has the unenviable task of keeping Nathan Foster behind for a potential P4 in the gold class. I can tell you now, Foster with the pace to the table today, he will want to finish on the heels of Hammer. He will not want to be stuck behind Felvis, albeit these two have their own little rivalry from the circuit of the Americas, which we spoke about earlier on in today's broadcast, and right now I think we're going to see some fantastic battling between them. I think Foster feels as though there's a podium in the gold class on the card today, not just in the heat race, which he managed to achieve, but also in this feature race, and he wants it with both arms wide open. But as they make the way down towards the back straight now, will there be that opportunity, or will he be made to wait? That's the question. question as they head up towards turn 16. I think Foster just not close enough. But meanwhile, speaking of proximity and being close enough for a move here, well, it's going to be Romano who's trying to look for a counter-attack versus Lazarus. Lazarus defends. Meanwhile, Foster looking up the inside and going late. And later goes Felvers. Can Felvers get it stopped in time? He does. But that's going to be a very tight line there as meanwhile, Lazarus and Romano, and it's gone round. That's gone round for Jeremy Debova, and Lazarus having to just stop the car there in the nick of time. And well, the bad luck for Corey Lazarus at that corner could not have been more unfair, you could argue, for number 4 driver, but that's the way it goes. Great cat-like reactions, but meanwhile, Foster's up the inside into turn 1 versus Felvers. In they go. Felvers around the outside. Foster gets it stopped in time, and how they did not make contact, I will never be able to know, ladies and gentlemen, but I can tell you one thing, it's phenomenal. And as they make the way up into turn number 3, Felvers is still there. He's hanging on by a hair as they make the way out towards turn number 5, but whether it's a hair or a whole country mile, it doesn't matter. Felvers is digging his heels in, and Foster looks around the outside. He can't find it as they make the way towards turn number 7. Into the next braking zone they go, and the leaders meanwhile have already run 4 seconds clear of all this. Felvers right now really staring the tide of the rest of the field, but that's how much he wants to finish inside the top 5 overall. And as they come down towards turns 8 and 9, onto the brakes they go, and right now Foster not able to find his way through. Meanwhile, Ben Kirby, in all the cacophony of battling that we saw, has moved back into P9, your bronze leader. He's ahead of Jeremy Debova and Forsten Sevet now, and he's on the back of Lazarus as they come down the hill out of turns 8 and 9 and making their way up towards turn number 12. Right now, Kirby interested in taking a gold hat, if you will, as a gold scalp is the right terminology here, as they make their way in towards the next braking zone. But will he be able to? No, Lazarus just simply stays on his racing line, knowing that Kirby hasn't got enough leverage there in order to try and force a move. But we take a quick look back, ladies and gentlemen, at what happened to Jeremy Debova at the hairpin and what led to everything playing out the way it did. So as they made their way into the braking zone, as you can see, the Felvers-Foster battle starting to simmer, but Debova comes through the corner there, and a small tap there from what was Lazarus' car, and Lazarus just parking the car there, knowing that everyone else would go around, and were very respectful there, Lazarus, to wait and really let Debova get back to racing. So I think Debova won't be too pleased that he got turned around, but he also be very grateful that Lazarus showed great sportsmanship there, and that's what it's all about at the same time, owning up to things. And while we do know that Corey Lazarus, a great sportsman there on the UK Sim Racing Porsche Cup Series, but as they made the way on through turn number 16, well, that time Debova taking way too much apex curve, and the left side suspension clattering its way over the raised curves. That is not going to help the steering of the car, I can tell you that much, as they make the way out of turn number 18. But mistakes like that, they will happen when the heat is turned up here to 100, as they make the way down towards turn number 1, and he's got Forsten Sevet battling for the final spot on the silver podium with him. So therefore you can understand why Debova's doing everything he can to hold on. There's also an overall top 10 here, which both drivers would love to have, but as they make the way up towards turn number 3, well, right now Sevet just having to wait in the wings and look for that opportunity. And speaking of opportunities, ladies and gentlemen, if you're wondering at the moment, particularly if you're a long time viewer, when's it going to be your opportunity to cast your driver of the day vote? Well, those driver of the day votes are about to open. In fact, in 3, 2, 1, they are now open, and you can use the Google Forms link there to put your vote in. But meanwhile, whether your vote's going to go to Forsten Sevet or not for the move he's trying to make there versus Jeremy Debova, but the car comes loose. Debova with a little bit of a rub there, but Forsten Sevet losing it under braking, and as they make their way out of turn number 7 in towards 8, 9, Sevet, I think, all 4 of those got the move done, but I think in the end just coming in a bit too hot down the gears, and with the steering angle applied on the wheel, it was just too much for the car to be able to stay stationary, and therefore losing the place he just gained, and with it as well losing the place to Charlie Max. He now has Asda Hatcher right behind him, but it's come back to a point from only months ago. Driver of the day votes are now open. We do strongly encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, to cast the vote for your driver of the day, and our driver of the day from was our previous round was Thomas Cope in Detroit with 37% of the vote, and Carl Felvers came at a very close second with what I do believe it was 34% of the vote. So do let us know who your driver of the day is here at MotorLand Aragón, and those votes are open all the way to midnight tonight, British summertime, that's BST, or Universal Coordinate Time +1 at UTC +1. But as our drivers make their way down here, Felvers still fighting with Foster into the braking zone they go, and as they do, well, we're hearing that Chris Edison's been totally pitched due to an incident, but we'll come to that shortly as Felvers here making sure Foster has to know about the long way round if he's going to try and do it at the hairpin. Meanwhile, Romano's still right there behind as they make the way up the hill through turn number 18. We ride on board and look back from the rear of Phelps' car. As you do, Foster looks one side, he can't quite find it, and he's almost taking the camera off the rear of the car as they make the way up towards turn number 1 here. Felvers defending hard. Foster this time trying to get Felvers to outbrake himself, doesn't do so. Foster made to go very, very deep, and as they come out to 1 in towards 2, it's going to be Romano now who says, is it my turn? As he looks around the outside of 2 up towards 3, but Foster making sure not to let the silver leader come on through and holding him at bay as they come up towards 5, but I don't think Romano's taking the message. And instead, I think the Belgian driver right now also wants to play, so they come through turn number 5. He can't quite find it, and Corey Lazarus once again starts to inch closer and closer to them as they make the way up the hill and as they make the way in towards turn number 7 right now. Well, the battle is still on as they roar their way through it. And in fact, my apologies there for saying that Lucas Romano is the silver leader. I can see Medvo there correcting that, getting carried away with things. I do apologise to Casper Tunstead being the leader of the silver class there in P2. And well, speaking of Casper Tunstead, it's only fair because he has been out in the wilderness in terms of the coverage for the Danishman, and the Peak Sim Racing driver right now in a very lonely lead of this silver class as they make the way on through and up towards what is turns 14 and 15. And right now the Peak Sim Racing driver may not be on the pace of gold leader Thomas Cope. It's much further up the road by what is 13.5 seconds, but the Dane absolutely holding on to his principles here, which is bringing the car home and bringing it home for his first win of the season, going one step further than his first ever second place of the season as of the previous round in the heat race here at MotorLand Aragón. But as he heads on down the back straight, we looked at Emil Koopmans, meanwhile, third place, second place gold class right now, looking for his best performance of the season. And it has been an entire season since we've seen Koopmans on the gold podium. Well, he's going to be putting that to rights tonight. No matter whether he's ahead of Hammer or not, he will be on that podium, presuming all goes well. And now that I've said that, because the last time he was on course for a podium, as soon as I said it, he had a spin up which ruined it, so we'll take the commentator's curse off of him immediately. And we see Nathan Foster here, meanwhile, still fighting his way past Velvis, but he can't find a way through it. And again, time and time again, knocking hard on the door of the British driver, and meanwhile his fellow countryman just simply cannot find his way through as they make their way down towards turn number 1. Velvis defends hard to the inside. Foster this time trying to pin him onto that inside line, going all the way round. Can he get it done? No, he can't. And Foster there goes straight on instead in what looks to be a bit of an odd incident. In fact, I think Foster going straight on there. I wonder if something's gone wrong with the car or whether there was some contact between them. We'll have to see if there's an alternative camera angle, because that was very sudden for Foster to be towed back to the pit. And what exactly happened? As they made their way into the corners, camera angle might tell a little bit more of the story here. And under braking, Foster just went straight on. And I think there might have been something that's gone wrong with the suspension of the car as a result of that. Alternatively, the brakes have just let go because the 52 has had to come into the pits, and that is Nathan Foster's race in tatters, as now Carl Felvis will be lining up the next driver behind him who wants to have a fight, and it will this time be your second place silver driver of Lucas Romano, who, as they make their way on through turn number 11 into 12, will be now looking for the opportunity to try and take P5 overall. But I can tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, Romano right now, he's probably been watching everything that's played out. He's been doing all the studying, and now it's time for the final exam. Can he find his way past Felvis, or will Felvis just keep him at bay with Corey Lazarus getting closer? I think Felvis would like to keep Romano behind him, because then he doesn't have the pressure of a fellow gold driver on his heels. But as they come in towards turns 14 and 15, down they go for the right into left, and well, as they come through the left-hander, we can see there in the Twitch chat a number of you talking about Carl Felvis and the opportunity for him to get into a real race car. And I do believe in relation to what is the JSCC Scholarship and E-Series, I want to tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking to put something on his resume, the racing from here today should definitely go right up there and be pinned, as this is what Carl Felvis can do. But meanwhile, speaking of what other drivers can do out on circuit, Philip Hammer taking the run of P3 there in the gold class for Impulse Race. In fact, that's P3 overall, P2 in the gold class, we should say, off of Emil Koopmans, making the move happen. But how exactly did he get it set up in the first place? We will find out very shortly, because right now we look back to Carl Felvis with Lucas Romano on the left, your picture of Felvis on the right. Felvis now having to go with the familiar situation of defending into turn number 1 versus a driver who's on the outside then looking for the cutback or the run round. Well, it's neither this time, as Felvis just goes a bit deep but gets the car stopped in time as they head in towards turn number 3. And up through the right-hander they go, and as they do, well, I can tell you one thing, Romano right now, he may not be on course for a winner in the silver class today, but I think he's going to feel as though he's going to be enjoying the battle that we've been waiting to see between him and Felvis for a couple of rounds. And whilst they may be in two different classes, I think whoever comes out on top of the two is going to feel like a proverbial winner in their own sense here right now, as they make their way in towards turn number 7, and still Corey Lazarus on the back of this as we jump on board with the New Zealander in the number 4, and the Black Out Motorsport OPR driver looking to go on the hunt as they come down to the braking zone. But the problem here is in the fact he can get as close as he wants to Romano, but by getting close, he's then got to try and force the move. And ideally, he wants the position of Velvus as well. So he's almost lived. He's got to try and let Romano have a chance to take on Velvus in order to have that opportunity to make sure Velvus stays close. But if he finds too hard for Romano, Velvus gets the 2-second gap. The laps are running out here. We're on lap number 13. Our race leader of Cope is down towards the turn 16 hairpin, I should say. So we've got 2 laps of racing left. We'll get a 15th lap in before time is called. And as they make their way in towards turn number 13, with a bit of an unconventional attempt there from Romano. You can see trying to get his nose into 13, trying to unsettle Velvus kind of through it. And this is what you've got to do when you're in the position of, say, Lazarus or Romano. When you know your rival in front is just too strong at defending to the most conventional moves or the typical moves, you've got to start to try and put your nose where it doesn't block. You've got to try and get into your opponent's head. You've got to make them think as though you're going to go for a move that's just not on, but you're going to try and force it and make it happen. And that's why, as Lazarus makes his way down here, trying to take a look, seeing if there's the room to break on the inside, but he's too far back. Velvus meanwhile just dragging the car, but he locks up the front left brake, and as he does, that could lead to Romano coming through, and indeed Lucas Romano, he stays P2 in silver class, but he moves into P5 overall as he makes the move happen on Velvus, with Velvus having a lock up there in what was quite a synonymous moment with how Hammer found his way through in the end. And with Velvus right now, I think, feeling the pain on the brakes of the car. He's pushed the car so hard. I can see so many of you cheering on Carl today, including there Mr. Phoenix Fear, who has put a message in the chat for the first time. Very great welcome to you, Phoenix Fear, as I lose my words there because I'm absolutely speechless at the racing we've seen today. I can tell you that. I mean, this Porsche Cup always delivers in the fact in all the seasons I've covered of it, but right now this has perhaps been one of the best rounds of racing we have seen in a long time, and that's saying something, not to besmirch every other round. And speaking of battling still, we've still got a battle on for the win in the bronze class here, because it's Charlie Max right now as he serpentines his way out of turn 5 with oversteer on power. He's looking to go hunting after the win versus Ben Kirby. And well, these two right now, we've never quite normally seen them together on circuit fighting for the win. It's always been one driver ahead of the other as a result of extenuating circumstances or external factors, but right now they've got 2 minutes left on the clock. They've got one more lap after this, and we're going to see them go toe-to-toe for the win here as they make their way on through and turn at number 11 into 12, and as they come on down, well, meanwhile, oh goodness me, and what on earth's that? That's Carl Velvus. He's gone round out of turn number 11, and I think the car may have just let go. Now, was that of his own volition, or was he aided in that regard? We're not quite sure, but what we can do to confirm it is bring you a replay, and here it is. So he made his way through 10 and 11. I think Marc Marquez catched him out in the rear of the car, letting go in a similar fashion to what we saw to the Clicks Racing car of Sean Dobie in the first race today. And Velvus, I think the tyres have just not got the grip left. And well, all that hard effort now will be reduced to a degree. He's down to P10, and Corey Lazarus will go on through for the 4th place in the gold class. Velvus down to 5th place of the class, and well, as he makes his way up towards turn number 16, well, meanwhile, our race leader as Thomas Cope is on to the final lap already. He's already a further way into lap, and as he makes way around it, 18.5 seconds clear. But I think when he looks back, he'll know he's controlled this race, and that he was fortunate to carve his way through it as quickly as he did. For otherwise, I think if he found himself in that pack with Hammer, Coopers, Romano, Velvus, and also many other drivers, I think he'll be feared as though he'd still be right in a fight. So it's been a very different complexion here for the 64 car as he makes his way down for turns 8 to 9, but still coming back to the battle for the bronze lead. I think this will be the last major battle we see here today, with only 30 seconds left on the clock and 1 lap to it to be settled. It's still Kirby versus Max. They make the way out of the corner, and well, already Max getting the better run as they make the way upwards towards turn number 7. Max on the inside, Kirby not really able to respond there, coming into what is, apologies, turn number 5, we should say. 7's coming up, and as they make the way around, it is going to be Charlie Max with a great move there, who puts the pressure on and gets it down to turn number 5. And Kirby, I think, just has not got a response. I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing the number 19 falling off the cliff of pace, because the last couple of laps, the lap times have been falling away based on the data sheets we've got available as they make the way down into turns 8 and 9, and it could be the scenario whereby Charlie Max does finally take the win on circuit in the first battle between the two of them, and Max will make it 3 wins in a row to match Kirby's first 3 wins in a row. Indeed, that's going to be a statistic and a half. In fact, it'll be 4 wins in a row for what will be Charlie Max versus 3 wins in a row for Ben Kirby, so going 1 step further. But meanwhile, this man continues to go 1 step further than the rest of the field as he makes his way out the final corner. It's going to be 2 out of 2 here today in Spain for none other than Olympus X GD6 Thomas Cope as he weaves his way to the line. Here's your winner in the feature race race here in round number 7 by a margin of what will be 19 seconds in the end of the Olympus XG D664. But give a round of applause here, ladies and gentlemen, as he comes on through. It's going to be his first ever silver class win for Peak Sim Racing, his first ever overall podium, a P2 with it. It's Casper Tunstead in the 104. The Danishman brings it on home ahead of Philip Hammer, who's runner-up in the gold class there in a hard-fought fight for third place overall for Impulse Racing. Emil Koopmans completes the gold podium there, P4 overall for Apex Missers in his return to the gold podium. You love to see it. And then it will be Lucas Romano, who is runner-up in the silver class for RPM, ahead of Corey Lazarus, who finishes P6 behind the 5th place driver. Charlie Max holds on to P7, and he comes on through to take the bronze class win here today to carry on his run of wins from what's Detroit, ahead of Jeremy DeBova, P8 there, the DBR driver who rounds off the silver podium. And then it will be Carl Felvers, P9 in the end. The brakes are gone, the tyres are gone. But the HFT Racing Drive spirit has definitely not gone. And then it's Ben Kirby, who's the run-up in the bronze class here. P10 for All Spares by Connexes, head of Thorsten Severt, with Alistair Hatcher, P12, completing a run to third place on the bronze podium. Sean Cranley Swash, P13, ahead of Marcel Fritsch, with Glenn Humberstone and Craig Schill being your last finishers. And Craig Schill will be your last finisher on the lead lap here as he makes his way up towards turn number 16. And it is going to be a 4th place today in the class in the feature race. To be fair, 2 of his rivals did retire in the form of Sean Dobie and Mark Cadmore, so whilst he perhaps hasn't gained too many places on battling today, he's gained places by surviving to the very end, and sometimes that's what you've got to do to get some big points on the board, and that's exactly what the ATIT Tech Racing team at Sign Driver achieved here as he takes his checkered flag for a P16 overall finish. But as he gradually cools the car down now, meanwhile, we do look to none other than Thomas Cope here, having done some donuts already and trying to just get rid of the rest of the fuel in the car and also get rid of the rest of the tyres. I wouldn't be surprised if team manager Charles Boschel will be looking right now and saying, did you have to do that? Because we're going to have to spend even more money now on tyres on this car. Well, number 64 driver, they're just taking it easy. And just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, Olympus Esports running a whole set of special liveries as part of October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and that's why you've seen that wonderful pink, white and purple livery on the car. And Olympus driver there, very proud to sport the livery, and indeed quite the story at Olympus Esports there, who are all in support of breast cancer awareness. But meanwhile, Charlie Max just makes his way on a cool down here, down the back straight, and what a day it has been for the Friends Racing by Connexus driver. A superb drive, albeit Ben Kirby taking the win in the first race of the day, as I get my head all realigned with the finishing positions. So in fact, Charlie Max does not continue a string of wins, and in fact it was Ben Kirby who took one today, and Max who took one as well. So therefore it's going to be continued to be very close between the two of them at the top of the bronze standings, and Max getting the upper hand in the feature race, which is worth a few more points, and it could arguably be the one that matters today in their rivalry, where they're only separated by 2 points going into this round, and I think after this round the separation will still be about 1 or 2 points either way in the favour. As he comes into the pit lane, let's take a look at those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. So after a phenomenal second race of the day, I would argue the best race of the season thus far. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, I think many of you may agree with me on that one, but do let me know whether you would reckon this has been the best race of the day. And also, don't forget to vote for your driver of the day. Link available in the Twitch chat once again there. Votes closing at midnight tonight, British Summer Time, BST, or Universal Coordinate Time +1 at UTC +1. It could be any one of these drivers who gets your vote, whether it be Thomas Cope, your race winner for Olympus XG, who took the win in the end in style, 18.1 seconds clear of Peak Sim Racing's Casper Tunstead. But in his own right, Casper Tunstead taking his first ever overall podium, and with his first ever silver win, the Danishman putting on a solid drive, there's no doubt about it. And then P3 to round off the overall podium, Philip Hammer there for Impulse Racing, who had to fight hard, incredibly hard, to batter down the defences of Carl Felvers. But he finally found a way through in the end, and found his way past Emil Koopmans along the way to take second place in the gold class. But still, for the Apex Missers driver of Emil Koopmans, P4 overall, it is a return to the podium in the gold class. He has waited the best part of 18 rounds, I do believe. In fact, I think it's more along the lines of, if I do the maths, 24 rounds since his last podium in the gold class. But Emil Koopmans has finally done it, back to P3 in gold for Apex Missers, and what a way to do it today with some fantastic driving for the 911 driver. RPM's Lucas Romano, runner-up in the silver class there in the number 39, having a great scrap with both Carl Felvers and Corey Lazarus. Speaking of Lazarus, P6 there for Black Wildcat Motorsport OPR, but knowing today that P6 really a P4 in the gold class and some good points, but perhaps not the podium he was looking for. Charlie Max P7 there, the bronze winner for Friends Racing by Connect, says a solid drive once again and find his way past Ben Kirby in the closing stage of the race. A well-managed race for the 621, ahead of Jeremy DeBoer at P8 there for DBR, and then Carl Felvers for HFT Racing ahead of Ben Kirby to complete the top 10 there with the All Spares by Connexus driver finishing runner-up in the bronze class. And we should point out with Jeremy DeBoer finishing P8 as the third place silver class driver. Jeremy DeBoer completes the silver podium of Tunstead, Romano and DeBoer. But meanwhile, after Ben Kirby in P10 at P11, it's Forsten Sever for Ring Fiziat Sim Racing, who just missed out on the podium today in the silver class, but still plenty of racing to come from the 76 driver. And just behind him by a further 1 second was Alistair Hatch for ATET Racing at Cyan, who rounds off the bronze podium of Max Kirby and then Hatcher. Sean Cranny Swash P13 ahead of Marcel Fritsch with Glenn Humberstone at P15 there. And then your last lead lap finisher, Craig Schill, 16th place for ATET Racing Siam. And then classified as finishing 2 laps down. Indeed, he will be classified as the finisher of the race as he completed over half the race distance. Sean Doby for Clicks Racing. The same for Empire Motorsports, Nathan Foss there in a difficult end to his day today after what a strong first half of the race he had in the 52. And then 6 laps down, it will be Chris Edders for the UK Sim Racing admin team. They'll all be classified as finishers as they managed to get within the halfway point of this 15-lap race. But meanwhile, Mark Cadbor 12 laps down and Oystein Hereford last but not least after that unfortunate retirement on the opening lap. They'll be classified as non-finishers as they did not make the halfway distance. But a phenomenal race here today, ladies and gentlemen. There's no doubt about it in the Teruel region of Spain. But with all the racing having concluded, we're going to take a brief breather before returning for our post-round interviews with our volunteer drivers. I'm sure there's plenty of stories to be told by drivers. But if you have enjoyed the racing today, firstly, be sure to let us know in the Twitch chat. And if you want to go one step further on Twitch, you're very welcome to follow us or to subscribe to the channel. We always appreciate it. But also, if you are enjoying the racing and you want to support UK Sim Racing outside of the Twitch channel, did you know there is a quick way to do so via our affiliates? For we at UK Sim Racing are affiliated with multiple sim racing and real-world motorsport companies, including Swilly Meta Sim Racing Coaching, SimLab and Race Anywhere. And if you do head to our website, that's uksimracing.co.uk today, that website appearing on screen as of now, well, you'll see in the top right corner of the screen there's a link to our official Discord. Now, why would you want to join our Discord? Well, there's multiple reasons, but let's give you 2. The first one is if you ever want to be on the grid for any of our one-off events or our official series, such as the Porsche Cup, you need to be part of the Discord, so that way you can attend the mandatory driver briefings and also the safety briefings ahead of each and every championship. It is a mandatory requirement. However, perhaps more relevant to today and how it helps you support UK Sim Racing and how it's a win for you and puts you in pole position is for the simple reason that a number of our affiliates provide discount codes which are only available on the UK Sim Racing Discord. And if you use one of those discount codes as part of your purchase, well, you get a discount on your purchase, which is an absolute win for you. And also, we at UK Sim Racing get a kickback from your purchase. But because we're a non-profit organisation, it really is also a win for the community because every penny and pound we make from affiliate purchases goes back into funding future series, including the GT3 GTP Multiclass League, the GT3 League, the Porsche Cup, and plenty more we have planned for the remainder of this year and going onwards into 2024 as we go from strength to strength here at UK Sim Racing. So do remember, a little purchase can go a long way in supporting UK Sim Racing, but right now what can go quite a way is a bit of a breather for us all to cool down after the fantastic racing. And just to say, those post-round interviews are coming up in approximately 10 to 12 minutes time. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back and we're all set for our interviews. Speaking of which, we've only got one interview on the cards tonight, and he's already here with me in the interview room. It's none other than the man himself, Thomas Cope from Olympus Esports Vanguard, and racing as part of the Olympus X geodesic team for this season of racing. And Thomas, another phenomenal night of racing for yourself today. Perfection in a way, pole position in qualifying, the win in the heat race, and a very quick charge to the front of the field for the win in the feature race. I mean, at the Circuito de Alcañiz, you couldn't ask for better at a circuit which really pushes drivers to the limit.
Yeah, I couldn't ask for anything else today. It kind of was that kind of top result, getting pretty much the golden sweep on everything with the pole and the 2 race wins. But yeah, it was not easy. Obviously, I had the pace once I got in the clear air, but getting through the field, especially on that first lap, it was. I mean, to be honest, I kind of blinked, and next thing I'm past like 7 or 8 cars. So I still need to go back and watch properly what actually happened and make sure I haven't killed anyone on that second race start. But yeah, it kind of flew by in a second, and yeah, next thing we know, we were heading off our way up after P2, I think it was at the time, up after Casper.
Oh, most definitely. A very quick set of gains there as we see back the pictures from the start of the second race and seeing you making that progress early on. And speaking a little bit about the circuit, of course, this circuit of MotorLand Aragón, known as well as ones whereby it's a very hot circuit with a whole variety of elevation change, corners that are a complete blend of chicane, sweepers, hairpins, also some very high curves as well to deal with. I mean, is this perfect territory for the Porsche and being able to get used to maximising its characteristics?
I mean, yeah, for understanding the car and learning where you can push and where you can actually, or how you can actually run a corner. This is probably actually one of the best tracks because you've got some heavy braking zones. You've obviously got the braking zones where you're trying to turn at the same time and twist around the corner, and you've also got just your normal corners and your long sweepers as well, where you need to feather the throttle a little bit. So it kind of is that mixed track where a bit of every skill is needed from being able to run the Porsche Cup, and obviously it shows off when you do have that practice in you and you know how to run it and consistently well as well. It'll really benefit you around a track like this one.
Oh, indeed. And then coming on to then qualifying in terms of that feel for the car. I mean, we always normally see that qualifying is a battle between yourself and Philip Hammer. In Detroit, it was a couple of attempts, the difference between you and a lap, which you felt could have been even faster. Today, it was 83 thousandths. And I have to ask, how did qualifying feel for you? Because 8 minutes around here is not a lot of time when you consider the lap around here. It's just short of the 2-minute margin.
Yeah, I kind of got actually lucky, to be fair. I mean, Philip's a great driver, and I would never wish anything bad, but he could have maximised a little bit more on that second lap. I mean, obviously that lap that I had on the board was my first lap run where the car's tyres aren't quite really in the optimal position, and I was still trying to get them warmed up, and it kind of blanked in my mind that the session runs out on 8 minutes dead. I kind of thought I was going to get another lap in, so I'd sacrificed what would have been my second time lap to go for the third time lap for a faster lap, and luckily, like I said, Philip didn't get the optimal lap in. I think he probably could have been a bit faster in my opinion, but you'd have to hear that from himself. But yeah, that first lap luckily was good enough by some miracle and by the slimmest of margins as well. But yeah, it was still a great lap. I can't knock the lap by any means. I think that lap itself was on record, or world record pace, so I can't down talk it. It was a really good lap still, but personally, I was beating myself up a little bit with my strategy, just not realising how the session went today.
Oh, I see. But still, making pole count despite it perhaps not being the way you expected the session to play out. And in the first race of the day, we did see a bit of a drag race between yourself and Philip into turn one. It looked as though initially in the opening acceleration phase, you both had slow starts, but then Philip started to edge a bit closer, but only to find that run to turn one is a very short one.
Yeah, Philip had a mega run on the start. I kind of biffed my start. I didn't do any practice starts prior to the first race, so I kind of was going in a bit blind on that on that race start. And yeah, Philip got it nailed. Maybe not optimally, but still really good in general. And it was kind of hard holding it around the outside as well. Starting on that right hand side of the track, it's not easy by any stretch. And luckily, I had enough of an overlap to try and defend away from Philip on the race start without letting him pass. So I'm thankful that it came to that and we could then race from there on out. But yeah, it was a good start from Philip. That's all I can really say on top of all that.
Then going from the start to the remaining 12 minutes of the race, we did see the gap between the two of you ebb and flow initially, and then there was a bit of a slowdown for Philip coming out of what was turns 14 and 15 midway through the race, which really relegated him to P4 and saw him have to try and fight his way back to P2. Meanwhile, for yourself, it looks like you were in a bit of control up the front, but I have to ask, how did the car feel after 12 minutes plus the final lap around here? I mean, this is a very warm circuit, but it's also one that's quite aggressive in terms of it attacks the car's tyres and also the brakes.
To be fair, my tyres were in a really good position. The car was just getting faster and faster through that first race. Luckily, I'd done enough practice prior to today, where my practice was 10 lap stints in a chain, trying to do the best lap times I can for a pre-qualifying as a one run. So I kind of had the 6 laps down to be able to manage the tyres and really look after them, and still get the good pace out of the car quite early on. So it was difficult. I mean, it was a little warmer than I expected, but it was still a little bit easily manageable, but by no stretch. Obviously, this track's really difficult in general, so it still demands a lot out of the driver to really nail every lap perfectly.
Oh, indeed, and not just demands from yourself as a driver, but also your teammate Oystein Hereford from Geodesic Racing as part of the collaboration for this season between Olympus Esports and Geodesic Racing, and the two of you making it a 1-2, the first time we've seen it from the pair of you this season. I mean, that must feel in itself a special moment.
Yeah, obviously the first time, and I know Oystein's been putting in a lot of hard work. He's really thankful for even being there as a teammate, so we'll see. Hopefully he can take that into the next round. I know he's getting better and better every round we go to, so hopefully next week, I think at Bathurst, we'll see him up at the front fighting. But it's obviously Bathurst is a completely different challenge in its own right, as everyone probably will know. So yeah, but Oystein, like I said, he's definitely going strength to strength, and yeah, it was definitely nice to have him up on the podium for that race one.
Oh, most definitely. A huge points injection for both of you in your respective Drivers' Championship standings positions, plus also a huge points injection for the team in the hunt after Impulse Racing. And the hunt didn't stop there, and going into our second race today, we talked earlier in this interview with regards to you making the very quick launch up the field and moving into lead. But at the same time as well, after that, it's about controlling the race. And we did see a couple of small offs from yourself run into those runoff areas, particularly as we went deeper and deeper into the race. A lot of race management had to go into this one. 30 minutes around MotorLand Aragón, it's a long time, and you've just got to play it conservatively, surely.
Yeah, it's one of those. Not only have you got to look after the car and how you race it, you've also got to look after yourself and not pushing too hard. I don't know about many other drivers on the grid, but I know I run my gear quite vigorous with high forces, so me personally, it demands a lot out of myself, not just to run the car at a consistent pace, but just to even run the car in general, lap by lap, especially with the bumps as well. I started hitting a few curbs later in the race and making a bit more of a mistake throughout the laps, which ultimately taking its toll a little bit on me, energetically wise, but as a whole, I managed to keep the pace going enough to really keep it up at the front.
Oh, indeed. We saw a regular pace from yourself, and I do believe in terms of the fastest lap in the second race, that went the way of yourself as well. The only driver to go into the 201s and then a 201.18. I mean, that is a phenomenal lap. The next closest was Philip Hammer, 202.11. So even when the car was quite worn, and yourself as well, worn with regards to energy and stamina, still able to pull some magical laps out there for the bonus points.
Yeah, I think I got the 201, the low 201 early on in the race. I think it was actually on lap 2 when I was chasing down Casper. And I had a bit of a slipstream down the straight, so it probably my only, well, I say that, it is my only slipstream lap that I've had. And I will say a big thank you to Casper and congratulations for the podium overall. I don't know if you guys on the stream caught it, but he gave me the slipstream down the back straight and then pulled well out of the way and let me take the race in line and then slip back in behind. I think he recognised that I might have been a bit faster today, so he managed to stick behind me, and I think that ultimately helped him pull off that second place today.
Well, indeed, and huge credit where it's due to Casper Tunstead with regards to his performance, like you say, and bringing home his first ever Silver Class win and his first ever overall podium as well, second place, and following your footsteps, albeit come the end of the race, a gap of 18 seconds between the two of you, but it doesn't take away from your respective achievements. And coming back to yourself, of course, a perfect day today in Spain, and in a week's time, our second endurance race round of the season. As you alluded to earlier, Mount Panorama awaits you, and well, I have to ask, do you fancy yourself to be king of the mountain?
I don't know about that. I know Philip has some good pace, so I'm going to have to put in the overtime and really get ready on race pace, but it's all about qualifying around Bathurst, as you probably fair well know, so we'll see what we can pull out in qualifying. Hopefully I can keep that streak of qualifying poles going for a starter. But yeah, it's not going to be easy. Obviously those walls come at you thick and fast around Bathurst, so it's easy enough to get tiny a little bit wide and pick up that 0x, which will really then hinder your qualifying. So bit of time we'll see. But next week's definitely going to be interesting, and anyone wanting to watch it, definitely make sure you're here for the start to see qualifying, because that's where the race is going to be won or lost.
Oh, 100%. I'll agree with you on that. Qualifying so critical at Bathurst, and we look forward to seeing the showdown between yourself and Hammer once again, and who can take pole, or will it be another driver? You never know. But just before we do let you go, Thomas, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a special mention to? Alternatively, talk a little bit more about the livery on the car. We always bring it up as it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and that wonderful livery on the Olympus esports machine.
Yeah, so we're obviously repping the livery, supporting all the women of the world who are fighting the battles, and they're all doing an amazing job with what they can, and we respect and love you all. And the race really goes out to them. The whole evening does. Obviously, I'm getting inspired by my mum and my friends as well, who are all fighting their battles. So this whole day goes out to them. Really, hopefully next week we won't get the karma of not running the October livery anymore. With it being outside of October, but we'll see if we can keep the momentum going for them, and really keep that whole momentum for the season, and dedicate the whole season to them as well. Even though we might not be running that livery, but still, everyone fighting the battles. This is for those guys and gals mainly. But yeah, big thanks to the whole team. Obviously, we're still working hard behind the scenes. All the guys helping me out, and all the females doing what they can in their jobs. Charles helping me out in a few personal things as well. Behind the scenes, he's really helped me out over the last couple of days. So a massive thanks to him, keeping my head in check as well for this race today. And my parents as well, they're doing an amazing job. Just being there for me supportively in what I do. So I really thank them for everything. And yourself for the broadcast. I love watching it back when it goes live on YouTube. So I'll look back to today's as well. And then all the owners and organisers and admins of the UKSR League, they do an amazing job. I know Roxanne's had a bit of a rough day as far as what I'm aware. So I hope she's better. I hope she enjoyed her takeaway food. that I know she was getting before the race. So thank you to all those guys and girls for what they've been doing as well.
Well, Thomas, indeed, it's always good to talk about the guys and girls behind the scenes running the series, because of course we couldn't go racing without them, but at the same time as well, I'm sure Roxanne's listening in right now will definitely appreciate that. And also there, the special mention, driving the momentum forward in the battle against breast cancer. Indeed, this whole month in October gradually coming to a close and being Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And even if the delivery's not on the car, we'll know that yourself will be pushing forward the cause out over the remainder of the season and giving it everything for not just personal glory, but also for wider glory for people there suffering with an illness which definitely can affect so many in the world. But still, on the flip side of the coin is one thing that can affect so many in the world in a positive way is seeing yourself, Thomas, absolutely running it from start lights out to checker flag at full throttle, and a phenomenal performance today, once again articulating that. Thank you very much for joining me in the interview room this evening, and we look forward to plenty more from yourself down under in Australia in a week's time.
Thank you very much, Paul.
So hearing it there from Thomas Cope, the Olympus XG86 driver and the gold class driver today, really putting the top standard of performance up there when it came to qualifying, and only 83 thousandths between himself and Philip Hammer. And it's again interesting to hear how, whilst the qualifying pole position streak continues for Thomas Cope, the fact that each and every time it seems to be under different circumstances. In Detroit, it was dominance, and 2.5 tenths was the gap, with Cope having a lap that was even faster by approximately 2 tenths until a very late track limit invalidation spoiled it right at the end. In fact, it wasn't track limits, it was fuel being run out on the final stretch before the start-finish line. But today, it was his first lap out there that took pole, and it was a great lap by his standards, indeed the standards he'd set himself. But Hammer could have perhaps gone a bit faster if things had worked out on the second lap, with only 2 flying laps available to the drivers effectively with the way they approach qualifying. But again, we've seen Hammer always coming close, but not quite there. Could Bathurst be the difference in the fact that's the circuit where track position is so important? We've seen it in previous seasons when Bathurst has run it in the UK Sim Racing Porsche Cup. Could we see the roles reversed, or could we see Cope go once again for pole position? That's going to be a thriller there in itself. Also talking about the racing in the fact that after defending off what was Hammer into turn at number 1, really able to start managing the race. Of course, the race was aided to a degree by Hammer picking up a slowdown, but we also got to see today, and this is perhaps the thing that stands out a little bit more, in the fact that it was closer behind to the top 2. We saw Oistein Hereford and Nathan Foster giving hot and honest pursuit to both Hammer and also Cope, and in the end, it was Philip Hammer who really had to look backwards rather than forwards, allowing Cope to run away with the victory there, albeit with the pace as well. And in race number 2 today, again, you could say if things had worked out differently on the opening lap, would Thomas Cope have been able to run away with victory? Not just in terms of 18 seconds, but being able to have that room to protect the car, nurse the car through the multiple stages in the race. Well, that's something that will definitely be on his mind when we go to Bathurst, because it's an endurance race, and he'll know that if he qualifies further down or falls further down the order, working his way through the field, it's going to have a tantalising task on his hands, and also take a lot of life out the car, and that's something he won't want to experience. And indeed, if anything, he'll want it to go as smoothly as it has today. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our interviews. We've only had one interview today, unfortunately, but still, we make the most of the one person we have, and we've had an absolute superstar in the form of Olympus XG86 Thomas Cope there, the gold class driver, coming on for interview. As always, great to hear from him. And we also say hello there to a first-time chatter with a smiley face of Zero TVs there, and I hope you're doing well, Zero. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes all of our interviews for today. And if Thomas Cope has stolen your heart with regards to the Driver of the Day vote, or any other driver on the grid, once again, we'd like to remind you that votes for your Driver of the Day close as of midnight tonight. That's British Summertime BST, or Universal Coordinate Time +1 at UTC +1, and those votes are in what is the Google Forms sheet there provided in the Twitch chat. So do let us know, and we'll announce it. We'll aim to announce it at the start of qualifying on next week's broadcast, albeit we're a little bit late today. But just to remind you, it was Thomas Cope who took Driver of the Day as of Detroit last week with 37% of the vote. But with that, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show and perhaps you're sat there thinking that you want to know more about the UK sim racing community, or in terms of our series, or just what we're about as a community, well, the first thing to do is go to our official website. That's at uksimracing.co.uk. You saw our website pop up on the screen earlier today, and you can go there to find out all the latest information about our leagues, series, one-off events, and what the community is all about, and the links to Discord and our media platforms. But if you don't want to go to our website, perhaps you're more of a social media person, well, the best place to go to is our official Twitter. That's at twitter.com/UKSimRacing_, where you can find out similar information, but you can also follow us on there and follow the trials and escapades of the official UK Sim Racing esports teams. We'd also like to take this moment to say a big thank you to our affiliates, and they do include, but are not limited to, Swellier Meadow Sim Racing Coaching, and well, with regards to Swellier Meadow, the creator of the Motor Racing Checklist, Swellier Meadow Sim Racing Coaching can help take your racing to the next level in the simulator. When you're looking to gain a 10th, improve your approach to the racing line, or develop your consistency, Swellier Meadow has a coaching course to meet your needs. Plus, with Swellier being a multi-time champion of official iRacing series, including the 2021 PESCC, you know you're receiving coaching from the very best in the industry. We also have Race Anywhere, the provider of curated sim racing equipment aimed to only stock products that represent excellent value for the sim racing community. Demon Tweaks, the provider of the most complete and innovative motorsport product range available worldwide, so no matter what your level of discipline on the real or the simulated circuit, Demon Tweaks can help drive you to realise your motorsport ambitions. SimLab, the leading manufacturer of high-quality sim racing-related hardware. As a proud partner of Mercedes AMG Petronas Esports, SimLab aims to enhance virtual racing experiences with uncompromising solutions that push the boundaries of esports and make SimLab the go-to brand for quality sim racing rigs. Amazon, the company striving to be the Earth's most customer-centric company, the Earth's best employer, and the Earth's safest place to work through the provision of concepts pioneered by Amazon, which do include but are not limited to Amazon Prime, Amazon Fire TV, and Amazon Alexa. And lastly, but not least, SRC Driver Academy, a division of Sim Racing Community. Elevate your sim racing skills with SRC Driver Academy. Their team of experienced professionals is dedicated to helping you reach your full potential without compromise on quality. But why choose SRC, I hear you ask? Affordable, quality coaching is the answer. They have experienced coaches who provide valuable insights and a competitive edge. They make high-quality coaching accessible to all at an affordable cost tailored to your needs and goals. You can learn race strategies, precision driving, and much more, and they offer virtual coaching sessions at all hours of the day, every day, ensuring flexibility for all. So join SRC Driver Academy today and unlock your true sim racing potential. Do visit the website to learn more and accelerate your sim racing career. But now, ladies and gentlemen, our attentions will turn to round number 8. Our second endurance race round of the season is only around the corner in a week's time. And save the date for Thursday, the 2nd of November 2023, is when, firstly, British summertime comes to an end. So the timing schedule will go back to Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT, or what is UTC +1, Universal, not +1, my apologies, just standard Universal Coordinated Time. But also, it's going to be the site of the battle to be King of Mount Walu. Our drivers will be all heading up the summit, but who will come down the victor and make their way into the second mid-season break on a high? We'll find out then, but until then, we have been UK Sim Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, as always, remember to stay on track. Good night.